Welcome everyone to Thunderthon 2020's Second Strikes. My name's Freya, I'll be your host for today. Joining me today is someone who is deeply pug, our good friend Diesel. Give me 1 second to bring him in. Alright, so Diesel, while I'm refreshing... Alright. Welcome. So, you're doing FF7...
PC any
safer
percent.
route, right?
PC any percent, also known as the wrong warping category. Or if you want to get really old names, Yuffie warping, but Yuffie's no longer a part of the run. Back in the old days where we used to use Yuffie.
So, I'll go ahead and count you in. Let us know a little bit about this while we're getting you count in. What got you started in this category?
Well, it's this is basically the first game I ever started speedrunning. It's, the old adage of, find the game that you love, and if you want to start speedrunning because you'll play it over and over again. And I started with the no slots category, and that's a pretty long run, so I looked for something that's a bit faster, and why not just warp to the end of the game instead of playing the whole thing?
That's fair.
It doesn't take anywhere near as long.
Awesome. So I've got your notes up here. Chat, as always with Second Strikes, if you have questions or anything you want us to go over, just put it in the chat. This is a learning experience, so if you have any questions, absolutely the time to ask them. Diesel, would you like us to count you in?
Why not?
All right. Let's do this in 3, 2, 1. Let's jam.
Yes, feel free to post your questions. I may even be able to answer them.
I think being a Final Fantasy game, we're going to have a fair share of cutscenes here.
Yes, we still do get quite a lot of cutscenes, unfortunately. But then we get to enjoy the experience of Midgard. This is basically FF7 remake on a 32-bit console.
So, this immediately brings my first question. I was looking at your notes, and we've got a lot to unpack here, even just the introductions. I figured while we're here, if you wouldn't mind glossing over step counters. If you've seen Pokemon runs, you've probably heard of this, but what's a bit more about step counters before we're getting into the actual step counting?
So, step count is basically the simple version is that you can manipulate how many encounters that you get throughout your run using a combination of walking and running. That's the simple explanation. If you want to get a little more in-depth into it, there's basically you have, after you take a certain number of steps, the game runs a battle check. And that battle check is determined on something called danger value. Your danger value increases every time you take a step, however, it increases at different rates depending if you're walking or running. So if you use a combination of both walking and running, you can skip certain random, and that's existent on pretty much every category in Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII.
Step count is a combination of walking and running. You're trying to get certain encounters at certain times to kind of space them out and move forward.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's no particular encounters that we need to get in this category, so we're just going to be minimizing to get as few as possible. But
awesome.
as soon as we start, go into your menu, config, and set everything to go fast mode. First off, cursor to memory, ATB to active, and set all of the bar speeds to fast.
So, even though this process looks like it takes, 30 seconds to actually set your bars down, it's definitely faster because you're over the course of, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, it's absolutely faster. Text speeds alone are incredibly slow at the default rate. It's only 2 characters per second, whereas if you put them at the fastest speed, it's 6 characters per second for each dialog box.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Additionally, you can also change your camera angle to fixed. This doesn't save any time. It's just a quality of life option for when you're in battles.
Gotcha.
It doesn't move the camera, and sometimes selecting enemies can be a little bit tricky on some camera angles. So you can change that if you want, but it doesn't really wise. As soon as you've done that, pick up 2 potions. You do need to pick both of those up and start the first fight.
Awesome. Yeah, this is you're on your way.
Yep. Super complicated start. Hold circle.
Hold circle, and is that setting up a certain piece of RNG, or what's that setting up?
No, you just input as fast as possible.
Okay.
That's it. RNG inside of battles can't really be manipulated because it's based on a frame by frame and input basis, so it's not really manipulatable. No one can even manipulate the first fight's RNG, so you're just going to have to take it as it is.
Is that just a byproduct of, not even task can manipulate their RNG?
A task can
fight?
manipulate it, but a runner can't.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a task-only strat.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Gotcha.
Now, we did have a little bit of a discussion for this before the run started as to what we would name.
This is a shout out to a good friend of Thunderthon, one of the organizers and a friend of mine. Cloud is now named Chad's.
Well, do we have any suggestions for Barrett? Because we weren't able to get one for Barrett.
The best we came up with for Barrett was Other Arm.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that, though. So unless I get a better one in chat in the next...
Dan's pretty good.
Oh, Dan's Donut? Alright.
Big John's also good.
Dan's Donut. I can do Dan Donut, that will fit.
His name is Dan Donut, chat.
Oh, no, I can fit Dan's Donut. I suck at math.
It's okay. This is why you step count instead of having to, figure out, do I have enough HP to do this?
Yeah, exactly.
So what is... Well, while we're naming hilarious names, what is the biggest, you would say, restriction as far as resources go? Is it hit points? Is it items?
This one is... the route that I'm going to take you through is pretty lenient on most things in terms of finishing the run. If you really want to optimize your time, it's mostly down to movement, your movement tech into saving time. But the route that I'm going to be showing is a bit more of a beginner-friendly route, so you're not going to be too strapped for resources. There is a second route where resources like Gil is a lot tighter, where you skip... You can actually skip all the cutscenes in 7th Heaven, meeting Tifa and all that, but the downside to that is you get a lot less gil because you don't get paid by Garrett. You don't get paid by Dan's Donut, and you also don't get the materia menu in the materia option in the menu never unlocks either because you never go through the materia tutorial. So that is really restrictive, and I wouldn't recommend someone who's just learning this category to pick up because you're going to need to be extremely efficient and basically make no mistakes and run everything optimally in order to even get the run to the end. So
Gotcha. So you would say, is this a good beginner category, or is there a category you'd recommend over this?
this is a very good beginner category. The only other category that I would see recommending is New Game Plus, which is quite different. There is a bit of setup that you have to do beforehand because it involves pre-prepared saves, but this is, I mean, in terms of RPGs overall, this is a great one to get your feet wet.
So you have two categories that are very much beginner friendly, and if you guys have played FF7R, I believe this is you guys are starting in the Maka reactor where everything kicks off.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna blow it up.
Yeah, this would be great.
Chad's hair
And
is
also,
Chad's hair is a mercenary.
Yes, Chad's hair is a mercenary for a famous eco-terrorism group, which is just not something I thought I would say today, but hey, we're here.
Alright, so I'm gonna say
Server side, yes. Would you guys be
oh yeah. Yeah, we can pause for a sec.
quick break real quick? Yep. One moment, you guys. audio.
Oh, are we back?
All right, we should be back. I'm switching over audio, and we're back. And I've got...
Woot, we're back.
Yes, we're back. There's
Awesome.
feed.
Okay, so I was just about to start off on this one. This screen is the first one that has a bit of a tricky movement, because the starting position you actually can't run to the left straight away, and it's hard to tell that because the screen fades in and you can start moving before you can see your character. So to start off with, just hold down, and it doesn't have to be very long, and then left, and then just wheel around the stairs, and you can hold right from this point on. And
Oh, okay. So is it kind of like a buffered input in the sense that like you're queuing it through the load trigger?
It's not through the load trigger. What happens is the screen just loads kind of instantly, and the screen, but visually the screen fades in. So there's no like real there's no tricky stuff going on. It's just a fade in animation for the screen where you can move the character. Everything else is functioning normally. It is important to have pretty efficient movement. Like, I'm actually very far ahead because I haven't taken any extra steps anywhere. So you don't need to worry about getting the this encounter all the way down here. As long as it's in the kind of bottom section of this corner of the stairway, it's fine. Like, you could be and you'd still be perfectly fine. To start off with, step count is easier to keep on PC compared to the PlayStation version, because of a weird quirk on the PC version. So you don't have to worry about super efficient movement. It just needs to be good for a Reactor one. I will get into some precise inputs later to set up a boss in a preemptive state, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
And if you guys want to see his movements throughout the level, I do want to highlight in the bottom left-hand corner, there's actually a controller display. So you can see Diesel's movements throughout the area and see how he's maneuvering if you want to know exactly how to replicate this movement at home.
And I will be giving some detailed instructions on a lot of the skips that require precise movement. Yeah.
So how difficult would you say the skips are to learn?
Skips to learn there. There's one that's pretty complicated movement. That one took me about 20 minutes to get the first time, and it will need practice to get consistently, because you can just it's not like one where you can't retry. You can retry. I'm specifically talking about guard skip. You can go into that and give it a second go if you mess it up, but the problem is you have to completely reset the screen, so you do lose about 15 seconds for every time that you have to do it again. And that one does require quite precise movement. Took me about 20 minutes to get it the first time. Hopefully it'll take you less with the inputs and the explanation.
Yeah.
And you will need to practice it if you want to be really consistent at getting it first time in your actual runs. So that would be the most advanced skip in this category. The rest of them, they're either smaller skips and you can just start incorporating them into your run as you learn. And they're also not as difficult to execute as well. They're nowhere near it.
Gotcha.
They're mostly fairly easy. But anyway, getting onto our first manipulation of step count. After you get that sweeper fight, you should get it on the pipe above. You can jump on the ladder and head down. You need to take 8 walking steps in order to skip an encounter. If I didn't take any steps here, I would actually get an encounter immediately after Guard Scorpion, but if I take 8 steps, I completely skip that encounter and I don't get it at all. So the way you count steps, I count as soon as Cloud hits the as soon as Cloud's heel hits the foot, not the flat of the foot. As soon as his heel hits the foot, that's 1 step. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I can start running again. Now, you are tempted to kind of take an extra step for safety to make sure. I would discourage that. As long as you're counting to 8 in an effective method, you'll be fine. But the more you walk, the more you're going to push step count forward, and that requires you to have more efficient movement. And if you just end up walking too much, you can actually skip past more encounters, which take you off the proper step count route.
Gotcha.
Or you can just push it too far, and you'll end up getting encounters where you're not supposed to, and things just completely throw things out of whack. So take 8 steps. Definitely don't take less, but don't take more either.
Gotcha. The exact step count is important both in both directions of being ahead and behind that.
Yeah, that's right.
So are most of them like, most of these step counts, I looked through your notes and I see like, you mentioned 8 steps here. Are a lot of them like take exactly 13 steps or exactly 14 or whatever the number is?
Yeah,
or
it's not super precise. Like you don't have, it's definitely not frame perfect. And you do have a window where you need to have your steps within. But that window's fairly wide, but if you start consistently taking more steps than what you should, you are going to be taking your steps too far, and you can end up getting extra encounters towards the end of the run.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you and I were talking before the stream about how tight your EXP routing is, and because you're mostly getting experience from bosses, those extra encounters can be, from what you were saying, can be really quite deadly.
Yeah, not so much in this category. That's definitely true in the longer categories like no slots. So yeah, the main reason that we have step count is to avoid the pincer encounters where you have an enemy on either side and you can't escape. That is a horrible time loss, and that's the main reason. That was the big reason why step count was found, is to get rid of those encounters that end up killing runs completely. Now, Midgar's not too bad. There are some pincer encounters in Shinra HQ, I think, where you might get them, whereas if you're on step count, I can guarantee that you won't, as long as you're starting the game fresh. So if you do game over when you're doing your attempts, make sure you Alt F4 the game and restart it, because there are RNG elements and in step count that do carry over between game overs, so that is a requirement if you want to upload to the leaderboard as well, to do a hard reset, and Alt F4 and reload the game if you want to submit to the leaderboard, because it does require everything reset back to 0.
Gotcha.
Alright, but other than that, after this dialogue we'll be going into Guard Scorpion. I'll run through the fight in more detail, but at the start of the fight, you really want to try and get a first turn before Guard Scorpion gets his turn off, because that can save a decent amount of time and cut down the amount of turns that he gets. The best way to do it is that you can actually buffer your inputs in fights. There's no like kind of input delay or anything like that in the battle menus. So with Barret, we're just going to be attacking for the entire fight, and Cloud is going to be casting Bolt. The other important factor is Cloud needs to have his limit break at the end of the fight. Barret does not. So we can use Barret's limit break, but we can't use Cloud's. You don't want to try and get into any fancy sort of stuff when you're starting out, where you want to try and get an early limit break off Cloud. If you get really lucky, it's not worth it. It doesn't really save much time. It usually just causes more hassles than what it solves. So once Cloud gets his limit, just save it, but Barret's limit is fine. And you can also use limit breaks in a way where limit breaks always take turn priority. They always come up next. So for this fight, I'm going to be running Barret first, unless I'm trying to get a first turn with Cloud, in which case I'll swap them around. Mm-hmm. But the reason you run Barret first is because if Barret has an attack queued and Cloud has a bolt queued, and Guard Scorpion attacks Barret and his limit bar fills up to maximum, Barrett will get an attack off, and then you can immediately cast his limit break when Cloud is casting Bolt, and that will guarantee that Barrett's big shot will be used after Cloud attacks Bolt instead of Guard Scorpion getting his next turn.
Okay, so you're mitigating any returns that he has.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome, yeah. So let's see this. I'm curious.
So, hopefully we get a potential first turn in order to show it, but we'll see how we go.
I trust your manipulation abilities.
This is something I cannot manipulate, unfortunately. Might actually get a Barrett attack. Yep, sweet.
Awesome.
So, yeah. I'll have Barrett go first, and Cloud uses Bolt for the rest of the fight.
So even though Cloud's limit break is more full than Barrett's, you really don't want to burn that because it's a resource you're going to use later.
Yes, that's right. We're saving Braver for another fight. But in the meantime, so this fight is pretty scripted. I'll just pause it here. Guard Scorpion will always do the same turn order when you do this fight. He starts off with Search Scope, and he'll Search Scope either Cloud or Barrett, and that tells you who he's going to attack next. Waiting for the text mistranslations, Dan. There's none of that in this game. What are you talking about? I completely forgot what I was saying. Damn it.
So you were talking
turn
about
order.
Targeting on Guard Scorpion.
Yeah. So yeah, he'll always do his Search Scope, which tells you who he's going to attack on the next turn. The turn order is Search Scope, and then the second turn he'll attack with either rifle or tail attack, and then he'll do another Search Scope and another attack. And then on the fifth turn, he will raise his tail, and you get the situation where if you attack him, he will do a tail laser. So when he raises his tail, you can have Cloud cast a Bolt, and he will do one tail laser, and that will fill both Cloud and Barrett's limit breaks. It's enough damage to fill the both. So that's how you guarantee that Cloud always gets a limit in this fight. Sometimes tail attack can miss, which really sucks. And if it misses once, you can do a second Bolt to queue up another tail attack. Your HP will start to be getting low, but it should be okay as long as it doesn't crit.
Alright, I'm excited.
We might get Barrett's limit off of this next attack as well, so you can see. The limit priority. Nah, he's not going to get a limit off that. That's alright. We can show it off after the tail rises. So after he does the fourth attack, don't queue up Barrett's attack because it won't do much damage. Instead, just do Cloud's Bolt so we get that tail laser. And taking advantage of the limit priority, because we're not queuing up Barrett's attack until after the tail laser goes off, you want to select attack, but don't confirm it. This way you can still do the Barrett attack, Cloud Bolt, Barrett limit break once the tail comes down. But you have to wait for the tail to come down before you confirm it.
Okay. So you're queuing up the tail laser. You've got your input queued. Get your limit.
Yeah. And then once the tail goes down, you can hold circle. And now big shot's queued up, so that will go next. Nice. And that was actually a good Guard Scorpion.
Alright, yeah.
Okay.
So 20 minutes into this run, give or take, you are already at at the point where most people probably died several times over.
Yeah, pretty much. And if you want a typical run comparison, a good guard scorpion time for me is around about 8 minutes 40 seconds.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Anything sub 840, I'm definitely taking forward and doing a PB attempt.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So I am a bit on the clock here because I got a 10-minute timer, and I have to explain some pretty advanced movement later on.
Okay.
I will try and get through it as fast as I can without dying, because if the timer hits 0, it's game over. But
Which is a full reset, right?
yeah, I should have enough time to get through this. It's pretty easy, but to give a preliminary explanation on it now, the next encounter that I'm going to get, I'm going to force in a very specific spot further up. And from that point on, I will use exact movement, and the next boss fight that we encounter will be a preemptive because of a glitch with the way that boss is programmed, because he's programmed to take back attack damage, and because of that he can actually be entered in a back attack state if we're on a specific step count value, because preemptive battles are decided based on if you get an encounter on a specific step ID value, then that's a preemptive. So that's the way that works. So all of that exact movement that we do after where we force the next encounter will be precise to set that up.
Okay.
So before that, the movement doesn't need to be super precise. You just need to get the encounter to the point where I force it.
Okay. Let's do this. I'm excited. So that 10-minute timer is the reactor blowing.
Yeah. Okay.
Which-
Don't forget to talk to Jessie. You do need to save her.
She'll be alright.
She'll be fine. She'll be right, mate. Okay, so the position where we force the encounter is immediately after this jump. Alternate between up and down until you get the encounter.
Okay.
And you just need to escape this fight. You don't need to do anything in it. But once this fight is over, it is important whether or not you walk or run, so I will be precise. Walk left until you leave the screen. As soon as you enter the next screen, run right until you stop.
So you're using those two different movement types to move the RNG in a certain way.
Yeah. So, release right, release run, hold L1, hold up, and walk until you stop. Now, once you stop, hold run. I'm going to move to up left to run across this wall. As you see the corner that I have to turn around, as soon as I hit the apex of that corner, I'm going to transition from up left to up right on the D-pad.
This is what I'm glad we have you brought the controller. This is sweet.
Yeah. And then you hold that until you run into the elevator. You don't have to do anything else. Movement in the elevator doesn't matter. You don't need to worry about that. But once you leave, run left until you reach this position. This position is the first position that you can talk to Jessie. That's the best way to know it. If you do accidentally go an extra frame or two to the left, that's fine. It doesn't matter. It will not affect anything as long as you don't make any more mistakes after that. So, talk to Jessie, run straight down, talk to Biggs, run straight down again. As you run through this door, go from down to down left. And starting out, if you bonk on this railing here, it's fine. Just tap L1 and you'll wheel around it. And that's it. That's reactor.
You made them look so easy.
Yeah. If you don't get... If you... getting preemptive apps isn't completely necessary. Yeah, the next boss we fight is apps, by the way. I'll let you scratch your head over that. storyline-wise. But if you don't get it, it's fine. Like, the boss fight isn't scary at all. It's just a lot faster to get that preemptive, and having Braver at the same time to really give him a good chunk of damage.
Gotcha. So you're manipulating him so that you get to that point where you have that perfect opening, and you've already prepped the Braver from the last fight to do that massive chunk.
Yeah, that's right. Alright. So...
category.
Yeah. You do have a dialogue option here with Aerith, but it's the first one, so you can just mash. Okay.
Yeah, it's when I played through the...
Yeah, sorry, just one
Final
second. You do need to pick up this potion on your way through as well. And there are 3 dialogue prompts on this screen for like whether or not you do fights. It's the second dialogue option for each one.
Gotcha. So again, you're using that memorization to avoid conflicts. To keep your braver.
Yes. Yeah, so the way Apps is programmed, he's actually programmed to take 400% back attack damage instead of the normal 200. So he takes quadruple damage from physical attacks if you have a back attack state.
And since you're quadrupling a limit.
Yeah, so we'll be doing around about 480 to 500 damage on him in one hit. Plus we'll also have the preemptive, so everyone will get first turn.
Which, considering last time you did an attack, you're doing what, 80 was your magic and 30 was Barrett's
basic
auto.
Attack, yeah. Cloud's Braver does around about 130 normally in that fight, if it's just a front attack.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Actually, no, it'd be 120.
Yes, your target attack does roughly 4 times your basic damage, being able to plug it 4 again to get that, 16 times massive chunk of change.
Yeah, so he has, what is it, 1800 HP, so getting that 500 is a really big deal at the start of the fight. It really cuts that fight down by quite a lot of turns.
Yeah, a third of his health bar in one hit is pretty sweet.
Yeah, plus you also throw 3 grenades as well at the start of the fight, so those you get first turn with all 3 of those grenades as well, so that's also a very big benefit. Alright.
So yeah, before the fight even starts, grenades are what, 120, give or take?
140, usually.
140, yeah.
It depends on the specific boss's defense stat, though.
Okay.
They have a maximum damage roll of 150, I think, but that's before defense calculation. Alright.
So 140.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's usually around about 140 for most of the bosses. Alright, but this is our first optional skip that we'll be going through. Jesse skip. It is possible to actually skip a section of Jesse's dialogue if you're particularly good enough. This is definitely one of the more difficult skips, so you don't have to learn this when you're starting out. But, and it only takes around 10 seconds, so it's not a huge deal if you get it or not when you're starting out. But essentially, you need to, I'll actually show this and I'll do the backup strat, because the backup strat is basically the same.
Yeah.
You need to talk to Jesse on the same frame as you move down and trigger this guard to run out. Because then the game will really allow you to run again once you clear the first text box with this guard, because he only gets 1. And then we'll run into the door after Jesse's 3rd text box, and that will skip the explanation with how, like the whole diagram with how Midgar City is. We'll skip all of that cutscene. So
Right.
the best way to do this on PC is have the hand turned on, this hand, and run down until you get to a very specific point where... Ah, damn it. That was 2 inputs.
Okay.
Try that again. That's not right. Hang on. There we go. So you need to get into this position where there's the top of the hand is basically has a 1 pixel gap between the handrail above it. That's the visual cue for the position that you need to be in. Once you get into this position, open the menu, and you're going to do a buffered input where once I close the menu, I'm going to be holding confirm, which is circle, run, which is X, and down right. So I'm going to be talking to Jesse and moving on the next frame to get that guard to run out and talk to Jesse at the same time.
Okay.
And so that's the easiest way to do it. Rather than try and do like a frame perfect setup, you can actually buffer all of your inputs if you're standing in the correct position to actually talk to Jesse and have the guard run out at the same time. It's much easier than trying to do it the other way. So yeah, once you do that, I'll push X to close the menu first, and as the menu is going through the animation of closing, I will hold down right and circle as well. Or I could just completely mistime it.
It's okay. It's good to show backups too.
Yeah. There we go.
So the setup is consistent as long as your timing is on point.
Yes, and you don't do any horizontal movement. That's also important as well. It's just run down. So if you do it right, this will happen where 2 text boxes come up at the same time. Clear both of these text boxes, and once the guard comes back in, you can actually run around while Jesse's still talking to you. So clear the second text box. Oh, damn, I think I busted it up. Yeah, I messed up. I accidentally talked to the homeless dude. So close the second text box and run through the door at the back of the train. And when you hit the door, close the third text box as the screen is fading out, and then run back in, and then you'll jump to this position here where the lights start flashing red. The reason why I didn't get it is because I talked to the homeless and I lost my movement. I talked to the homeless guy laying down on the chair, and he locked my movement back up.
Gotcha. Because you were already in a dialogue, and does dialogue bind you in place whenever it happens?
Yeah, the game is programmed so that when you talk to someone, most of the time, it locks your movement. And then when you finish the dialogue with whoever you're talking to, it releases it again. Now, because I talked to 2 people at the same time by hitting that trigger with the guy that runs out and talking to Jesse at the same time, I started both dialogues at the same time, but the guy that runs out only has 1 text box where Jesse has 3 text boxes.
Okay.
And so when I clear the first text box, the game still releases my movement because I finished the dialogue with that guard.
Oh, okay.
That is how...
So you're kind of...
Yeah, that's how most of the cutscene skips work in this game. It's usually running multiple conversations at the same time.
Huh.
But yeah, that skip is completely optional as well. You can just talk to Jesse if you want. That skip only saves around about 10, maybe 12 seconds.
Okay, it's not a run breaker if you miss it.
Nah, definitely not.
Awesome.
There are skips in this game that can soft lock, that I will explain, because they're not hard to do, but if you get them wrong, you can soft lock the game. So I'll give you fair warning when I do those. There's only 2 skips in this route where you can actually soft lock trying to do the skips, and all the skips that you need to do for this route, you don't have to. They don't have soft locked risks.
Only 2 ways of fundamentally breaking the universe so badly you can't do anything.
Oh, I can fundamentally break this universe in a variety of ways, but in terms of the speedrun, no. So, as soon as this screen loads, if you run straight to Barrett, you'll get this bunch of dialogue where he insinuates that you and Tifa are together. If you want to skip that awkward cutscene and go faster, exit the screen and re-enter it, and then Barrett will just have you go straight inside.
Huh.
Oh.
He seems to be just forgotten.
Sorry?
It seems like he just forgets, right?
Yeah, he just forgets. We need a name for Tifa.
Oh yeah, chat. You can help us with a name for Tifa. Are there any good runner memes, you guys?
She's got a mean kick on her.
What? I was jokingly going to suggest simple flips, because that's funny, but...
Foxy's hair. Screw it, why not?
You know what? Foxy's hair is good. I dig it.
Shrek. Nah, Deagle got him way before you. Unfortunately, Tifa doesn't have as strong an appearance as in No Slots, so we won't be getting Death Blow memes in this category. Run down right as soon as you get Cloud's movement again to keep the cutscene going.
We look at biotunes.
But we will get Bio2 memes. Sorry Diggle, but we don't get Bio2 memes either in this route anymore. There's been some changes. I know what he's referring to, but that doesn't happen anymore.
Huh. So, what would you say the most memeable part of this run is?
Most memeable part of this run. Definitely the dev rooms.
I cannot wait for dev rooms. You have promised me great things.
Oh, and also time paradox. We create a time paradox in this speedrun.
I'm so excited.
Alright. Cutscenes.
So, are you just mashing to get the text box to go as quick as possible?
Yep. So this game uses scrolling text, and the text box is only clear once the dialogue has finished scrolling.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's just mash. No super complicated tech here.
I gotta say, for a game being on, like, early days of PlayStation, it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm considering this is Square. Or wait, was it Square or SquareSoft then? I think it was SquareSoft at this point. This was their first 3D game, so it's not bad.
It's not bad at all. Yeah, they weren't Square Enix until
after
tail end of
Final Fantasy X-2, I think, was Square Enix's first game. Great start, eh?
I mean, I liked 10 too. It was a fun video game.
I couldn't stand it, I'll be honest.
I quite enjoyed it, though.
It does have a good battle system, to be fair. It was
I
just a
just enjoy the
story that I
dress
couldn't. It was a story I couldn't tolerate.
It's fair. So, you have this cutscene of Cloud, you know, basically vowing to protect Tifa, and that goes well for him.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I mean, to be
out
fair,
of curiosity,
it kind of solidifies his identity as Cloud, which kind of saves him when you think about it, when you know this story.
that's fair. So, out of curiosity, you mentioned the cutscenes. How much of this game would you say the speedrun skips compared to a casual playthrough?
Specifically the wrong warping route compared to a casual playthrough. Well, I mean, if I was to compare it to the no warping category, this run is a 1 hour 52 minute world record, and the no warping is 6 hours 58 minutes. So that should give you a pretty good idea how much we cut off.
Just a casual 4 hours, no big deal.
Yeah. Alright, so this part is actually important. Run down, talk to Barrett. When you talk to him, 6 dialogue boxes. Cloud will do his little animation. Make sure you hit the second option, because if you don't, you go into the materia tutorial, and that takes about 5 minutes.
Oh dear.
And there's no way to skip it. But once we're done in the bar, head into the weapon shop. Talk to this guy. Pro tip, by the way, you don't need to move to talk to this guy. Just as soon as you enter, hit circle. Go straight into sell your items, sell all of your potions. You should have 7. You might have 8 if you got a potion drop off the first fight in the game, but you should have at least 7 at this point. So sell all 7 of your potions, buy 21 grenades, and you should have a decent chunk of change. At least 350 gil left. You need to have at least 280 to continue on.
It's really funny to me that the speedrun is dump all your potions, buy explosives.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's another good meme as well. We basically just buy copious amounts of grenades and throw them at everything. And our next skip. This is the skip that will need practice. So basically, these guards can be clipped through fantastic video game design. I think the devs planned on having Sector 7 revisitable in the game, but it just got cut due to development time. So this screen transition still exists, but it was never actually unlocked. However, you can clip through these guards using very precise movement. So as soon as you enter this screen, you need to run right until you get to exactly this position. The best way to know that you're in this position is the tip of Cloud's hair is basically at the edge of the trash, which is right above him, which if I turn the hand off, there's that bit of trash that you run to. That position is how you know when you're in. The best way to get this position is to just run. I see this a lot with newer runners. They're tempted to kind of like walk to make sure that they get into the exact position. You don't need to walk. This actually makes it harder. If you just run, you will only need to know the difference between basically this position, and that position, which is infinitely easier than actually doing the walking to get the right position. So that's my tip, just run until you get to that position. Once you get here, run straight down and then release run and then transition to down left for, you only need to do it for a couple of frames. It's not very much. If you go too far, it's fine, as long as it's not ridiculously too far. So go walk down left, like so, and you need to walk left and right until you get to precisely this position here. And the best way to know this position is the right side of the Shinra guard's hat point is pointing directly at Cloud's crotch. I'm not going to be very subtle about this, by the way. But yeah, that little point on his hat on the right side, that should be right there, right at his crotch. And then from this position, run down right. And you'll get into this little slot here. And just tap X a couple of times. Now, from this position, hold left and then tap R1. You don't want to go too far for this, so at most you want to go this far the first time. And then run down right, again. And tap X a couple of times, one more time. You need to do this at least once for this skip. And then from this position, hold left again. We're just doing the hold left and tap R1 again, but this time we're going to go into a specific position where it's this position where this is the first position where you can't see the floor between Cloud's feet.
You appear to be inside of his shoulder.
Yeah, sort of. So yeah, the way I figure this out is there's you can see the floor between Cloud's feet in the previous positions, but the first position where you can't see Cloud's where you can't see the floor because of the guard's shoulder is the position that you need to be into. Once you're in this position, you've got the skip. Just hold run and down right, and that's the clip. And then from this position, it's just down left, down right. And now we're in Sector 5.
Yeah, so you just wiggled against a man, ended up clipped into his shoulder, and then ran through him to run through his own trigger.
Yeah, and he seems very oddly okay with it. He seems like, look, if you can get past me, you deserve to get past me. So it's cool.
Yeah, at that point, what do? You just let it happen, right?
Yeah. All right. So from this position, so from here we just progress to War Market. If you want to go down to Sector 5 and see what happens, you can. There's some pretty funny stuff that happens there. I recommend you go to the church. I should have made a save before. I completely forgot where I could show you guys at the end of the run in the infinite ways that you can break this game. But there's some pretty funny stuff that goes on. I think I've got a backup save actually, so I might be able to do that. But now we're in War Market, which is nice.
So, roughly how much time did you just shave off the game there compared to walking through that normally?
Speedrun wise, 20 minutes.
Yikes!
Yeah, it cuts a lot off. So it cuts the train ride to Sector 5, the jumping off the train and getting to Reactor 5, the bombing of Reactor 5. It skips the cutscene with meeting Aerith in the church and all of her dialogue in the house and the playground cutscene. And then you get to War Market. It's a big thing. And credit to Sunamod for skipping that, for finding that skip. He's actually not a speedrunner. He makes mods he's part of the modding community, and he noticed that he noticed when he was making a mod for that the hitboxes on the guards that you clip past were a little bit dodgy, so he just tried to get past them. And eventually he managed to do it, and then from there, the rest is history. After that, it was basically just see what the most consistent way to get that clip is. Which is where we're at. Alright, so to continue to progress the story, you need to talk to the guy, the fat guy in the red shirt. And you need to talk to him and ask him about Tifa. You can do the whole run around and talk to him on the right side, but the best way to do this is actually just run right, and just run right until you stop, then run up, and you can talk to him from that position there. It saves a little bit of time, like a couple of seconds, but it's a really easy way to talk to him. And then after the dialogue box, it's 4 text boxes, and then you run up to the mansion. And this is another good meme as well about this category. I mean, this is obviously the very famous dressing Cloud up scene. We're not just going to dress Cloud up, we're actually going to make him fabulous. We do everything. Okay. We get the wig, we get the best wig, the best dress, the best cologne, and the best tiara.
Okay.
We're getting him to win. He is going to outclass Aerith and Tifa here.
Is that just faster, or?
It's faster, yeah. So you do have to take the time to pick up the 2 extra items, but when you pick up the best items, it skips 2 battles and 2 cutscenes.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So it does work out to be I think it's around about a minute faster. I've never actually tested it, but word around the vine is that it is faster. So after you've talked, you need to talk to the guard first to start the whole dress up sequence. So when you started that, you need to go into this top right store here, the materia store, and talk to this guy first. And it's just first option for all the dialogue options, so you can just mash here. And then head into the dress shop and talk to the guy at the counter to start the dress sequence.
Yeah, Zephyr points something out by saying, grenades in general are a tight resource, so best skip fights whenever possible.
Yes.
It's doubly, not only for time, but also I presume that would have knock-on effects throughout the run, having less grenades than you need.
Yeah, so you don't need any gil after the... there's one shop that we do in Sector 5 after we fight Reno and the whole Sector 7 plate collapse. That's the last shop of the route, where you buy all of the grenades. But yeah, you're definitely right. You don't want to be using more grenades than what you need. This route is pretty forgiving. You do have spare grenades. If you do move on to the more complicated routes, then you are going to you're going to have to be very careful with using your grenades, because you can't really afford to throw them away, basically. And yeah, you want to minimize the fights. It works out faster anyway. Even if you do have grenades to spare for those fights, it's still faster to not do them, and to actually get picked by Don. So after that, head into the restaurant, take a seat. It doesn't matter what you order, so you can just order the Korean barbecue, but it does matter but the feedback that you give him after the food does matter. We have to do this in order to get the pharmacy coupon. So when he hands you the food, there's one text box. Cloud does his little eating animation. And tell him it was all right. It is very tempting to say that I've had better dog food, but don't do it, because if you tell him that, he doesn't give you the pharmacy coupon. It has to be the good. This guy's a bit dodgy. He only gives you the pharmacy coupon if he gives you good feedback. If you give him good feedback. So yeah, you get the pharmacy coupon for that one. And then once you've done that, head into the item store, talk to this guy. 3 dialogue boxes, take the digestive, which is the third option. And then once we've done that, head into the inn, stay the night. Second option, and buy the one for 200 gil.
So you're at this point, you're pretty much muscle memory through all these options. And your notes are pretty comprehensive. So if you guys,
yeah, definitely.
If you want to learn the route, your notes are readily available.
Yes. If you want to post a link in chat, it's I've got a Google document over about how to do this run and also the more complicated run, because they're fairly similar in terms of how they're executed. It's just that the world record route is a lot tighter, where you can't really afford to make mistakes because resources are so tight. So
right.
It's got both of them, and it's basically color coded as to which route you're doing, as to what shops you do and things like that. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. All the skips are the same, basically. But after you've stayed at the inn, head back to that materia store. Talk to this guy again, and he will give you the diamond tiara.
So it's already one of the key items, just like that.
Yep, that's right. So yeah, we've got our first key item. I'm going to do a save if this guy gets out of my way, just as a backup. No, I don't want to quit. I'll put it here.
Not moving.
There we go. Okay. So this is another skip that you can do if you want to learn it. Now, this is a skip where if you get it wrong, you can soft lock the game. So buyer beware, I guess. But this works in a similar manner to Jesse's skip, but it's more complicated. You need to talk to the dress shop owner and organize Cloud's dress. You also need to talk to the woman in the toilet and give her the digestive, and she will give you the sexy cologne. Yeah, absolutely, Foxy. That's fine. Alright, so if you get this skip, now it's very, very important that the dialogue options get processed in a very specific order. Because if you don't, you will lose Cloud's movement and he will become paralyzed, and then the game will try and force him into a position in which he cannot reach. That's what causes the soft lock. Actually, technically it's a hard lock, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. The run's dead. Yeah, so like this is a skip that you can learn, but do not try and do this on the fly. I can tell you that much. Practice it or don't do it, pretty much. They're really your two options. So the way this skip works is head up to the toilet and talk to the lady once. Keep this text box open, and then talk to the dress shop owner. And then once Aerith starts talking, you have control of Cloud again. When you get control of Cloud, run back to the toilet, head up to the toilet, and then down. I did not press confirm there at any point, but you need to close this door again in order to continue the skip. Yeah. Alright, so once you've done that, you can mash the text box until you reach a specific text box. A tough looking guy like that. Once you reach this text box, thank you, Sneevil, for the raid. We'll give you a little bit more attention once we finished explaining this skip. So when you reach the text box, a tough looking guy like that, run up and hit circle and talk to the girl in the toilet again, and that dialog box will open. Once you've done that, you need to talk. So this table that I'm standing right next to, you need to talk to the guy with the red hair. Now, unfortunately, the dialog box is kind of in the way, which is why this skip does need to be practiced. But you need to talk to this guy in order to continue the actual skip. Talk to him once. And then once you've done that, I just busted it. That's alright, I can recover it. I just got to restart it because I accidentally closed the door. Alright. So, talk to the girl in the toilet. Dress shop. Run up, run down, close the door. Mash. Tough looking guy like that. Talk to the girl in the toilet. Talk to this guy at the table, run back up, talk to this girl in the toilet, make sure you don't close the door like I just did. And from this point, you can mash until you confirm the dialogue option, and Cloud gives the digestive to the girl, which is what the dialogue option is about. So you can mash until you get that dialogue box open, and then head you need to head down to this position here where Aerith is able to run to you. That's very important. Now, you need to make sure both of these dialog boxes are up before you clear them both. Clear them both, and then it's second option, and then you get both of these dialog boxes. Now, this is very important. You have to wait for both of these dialog boxes to finish scrolling before you clear both of them. Otherwise, you have to completely redo the skip. So wait until both of these dialog boxes are finished. Close them both. You get the sexy cologne. Do not close this box and leave. And that's the skip. So you can give that shout out to Sneevil now.
Oh, Sneevil, thank you for the raid, and thank you for showing us that skip. That's insane.
Yeah, there's a lot of explanation to that, and I had to make sure I explained it in a way where you won't lock the game up. Yeah. Alright, so now that we've got our dress organized and we've got our sexy cologne, we go back to the dress shop and we try our dress on. Hey, Matita.
Yeah, welcome on into to a demystifying speedrun workshop where we break down speedruns and show you how they actually work.
Yeah. But yeah, that skip is completely optional if you don't want to do it. It's another one of those 10-second time saves that you can add to your run after you're more comfortable with it. But yeah, if you don't want to do it, that's completely fine. You just need to talk to the girl in the toilet, give her the digestive, and then talk to the dressmaker. Just make sure you hit the second option for each dialogue option when you talk to the dressmaker to get the best dress. You do need to make sure you get the best dress.
Alright.
And then we do squats. And you do need to win squats because you need to get the best wig in order to get picked by Dom. Alright, so rip through this dialogue. And then you'll get your instructions on how to actually squat. Alright, so you get the instructions once, twice, second option in the dialogue. And then there's a bit more dialogue, just be quiet. Second option, again, you don't need to practice, unless you do need to practice. And then once you clear this text box, then the squats start, and then it's square, X, circle, and eventually he'll screw up. Never skip leg day. That's right. Oh, this is not going to happen to me, is it?
Is he gonna go perfect?
Oh, thank the Lord. You managed to finally mess up. The max he can get is 20, from what I've heard. I've seen a 20 once. With perfect inputs, you can get 21, so theoretically you will always win. Just make sure that your squats are nice and clean. But yeah, that's definitely one of his better ones. He usually gets around about 14, so it's usually a lot easier than that.
Alright. That's crazy.
Alright, so once you've done squats, you should have all of your key items: the silk dress, blonde wig, sexy cologne, and diamond tiara. And then once you got all of them, you can get changed. 19, 20. Yeah, I think the maximum on PlayStation is 20 and the maximum on PC is 21. I think the anime, I'm not sure why the difference is there, but I do, like, if I don't make any mistakes, I will get 21. We are doing the full dress up. We're getting picked, Foxy.
You can get 21 on PS1 according to Ace.
Oh, you can get 21 on PS1? Okay.
Apparently, yeah.
Cool. That would probably need some really precise inputs. Alright, So now that we're fabulous, we head to Don Corneo's mansion.
So this is a fairly long section of game. You've kind of blown away, and
yeah, well, it really helps when you know where everything is.
Yeah.
All right. And head straight to Tifa. We get a bit more dialogue here. I'm gonna leave it for my host to explain what this room is. I don't want to do it.
You know what it is? This room is a forge.
It's a forge.
That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's the forge in the background with the smoldering coal.
There is a mace on the bench there, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's there to you put the iron bars in those straps and you hammer it into whatever you want, right? Absolutely what's happening there.
Oh yes, there will be hammering.
What I'm saying is that is the politically correct explanation. It is a forge.
PG stream, PG stream, PG stream.
Monka toss, Monka toss. Asking the DM to make up. Hey, that's what I do.
Okay.
Very politically correct. I'm not gonna Monka toss Thunderthon on
Alright.
doing
So
this.
once our dialogue's finished, pick up the ether in the corner of the room here. And leave the Monka toss room.
Yeah, exactly. Alnus is right. It's a forge for making robots. Yeah. That's a blueprint. Yeah. Totally. All
Good
those-
memes.
All those years writing D&D stories came up clutch.
Right. So, I mean, I know I'm going to get picked here, but yeah, as long as you get the best of every item, Don will pick me. Okay. So for this dialogue coming up, we like our memes, so when you talk to Don, the fastest method is to do second option with his dialogue options, but I'm going to have a bit of a laugh and go first option. First option. And first option. Give him a nice kiss. Yeah, this part of the game is really weird.
This part of the game is profoundly weird.
Nice bedroom.
But hey.
It's a pretty awesome bedroom. It's a bit cluttered, but...
I mean, you know, doesn't your bedroom have a jukebox and a giant serpent model behind it?
It doesn't have a
I know all
jukebox
the-
in it.
Oh, there you go. See?
Alright. This dialogue option doesn't matter, so you can just pick anyone.
Gotcha.
Alright.
Yeah, this part of the game made me profoundly uncomfortable as a child. First playing through it, I was like, ah!
I didn't understand what the hell was going on, so I was fine.
Foxy just concept. Yes, it is named Foxy's hair. You're welcome. We have Chad's hair and Foxy's hair.
Unfortunately, we can't name Aerith because of the guard skip. Oh, that's one thing I didn't point out. You'll notice that Aerith's name is Aerith with a TH. because we skipped the naming process with guard skip, we actually skipped naming Aerith. But yeah, her name isn't spelt with an S in the game's code. It's Aerith.
Huh.
Just to add confusion to the whole like mistranslation thing. Okay, so this screen has step count live again. This is the only screen after Reactor 1 where step count is live. So we need to finish up the setup for getting preemptive apps. So in order to do that, run down right, talk to Tifa, and hold up left as you finish talking to Tifa, and I will learn how to talk. Once you stop, release run, hold run, left, release left, right, talk to Aerith. There. Alright, and when the apps fight starts, if you get preemptive apps, hold up and circle and queue up 3 grenades. Cloud will go first. Once Cloud throws his grenade, I'll queue up his Braver immediately afterwards to take advantage of that limit priority again, because it will still do the back attack damage. At the start of the fight, up circle. Down circle for the Braver. Circle for Tifa. Oh, that's a low damage roll. Probably going to get a slightly slower fight. And then just grenades for the rest of the fight. That's right, Zephyr. All your bars will be full when you get it.
He's an unpleasant fellow.
Yeah, he's not very pretty. Yeah, I got the slower fight. Unfortunately, because of the lower damage rolls, I get a second sewer wave here. With better damage rolls, you can skip that animation, but that's just a small thing.
Mm-hmm. So, you mentioned damage rolls. How consistent are they in terms of...
So I actually forgot to do a small thing, a small menu after the shop in Sector 7. You can remove one of your materias, and that makes the damage rolls a lot more consistent. With 2 materia on, you will usually get a range of 450 to about 490, and 470 plus is usually when you get a fast fight. So with 2 materia on, it's about a 50-50 chance. So I got a really low damage roll for that fight. That was a little bit rubbish. You can remove one of Cloud's materia, and that raises his strength by 1 point, and that makes it much more consistent to the point where it's basic. I would say like a 95% chance of getting the faster fight, because I've only had a slow fight once with removing the materia. And it doesn't really matter if you remove materia or not in this route. You can't do it in the world record route, but that's kind of irrelevant for this. Alright, so once you're done with apps, climb the ladder. As you climb this ladder, bit of a movement tip, because it's a little bit tricky if you don't know how to do it. Hold up, right, and R1. And then when you hit the wall, just go to right and release R1.
Awesome.
And this random encounter is also preemptive. So you run away from them immediately. And then up.
Halfway?
Sorry?
You're about halfway, you said? Like, give or take?
Oh no, as you're running along the wall, you can change to right and R1.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry, I misheard you.
So once you get that battle, take 6 walking steps, and this is the last point in this route where you take any walking steps. Step count is still important, so you want to make sure that your movement is nice and clean, because you can still end up getting more encounters on top of that, but this is the last encounter where we actually take any walking steps, and you take 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay.
So this is all part of a contiguous minute, right?
Yeah. And one important point, when you climb this ladder, don't start mashing immediately, because there is a frame where you can actually get back onto the ladder. It's not like a speedrun thing or anything, it's just a straight up glitch in the game where if you get back on that ladder, the cutscene will start, but your movement, it just bugs the game, and then you can't actually progress the story because the cutscene never plays, because Cloud is supposed to be in a specific position. So make sure that you don't start mashing until the dialogue actually starts scrolling, so you don't actually accidentally climb on this ladder. This screen is pretty notorious for getting good movement. It's very twisty and turny, so to start off with, hold down right and for a little bit, and then just go right and then climb, hit the ladder. Just hold up for this section. You do need to pick up this high potion because you'll need to sell it later on. Continue to hold up right after the jump, and then you will transition around this corner. As soon as you get off the ramp, you can actually get off the ramp a little bit early, but basically as soon as you start moving up again, when you're holding up left, you can just run right around. I can guarantee you can start running right earlier than what you think you can with that section. That's a good way to save movement. Then hop into this train. You can pick up a potion here for safety if you so choose. It's not a big time loss, obviously, so if you want to pick up that potion, you can. It's definitely not mandatory though. Then awesome. Straight to this ladder, and this is another point where it's really difficult to have the most efficient movement leaving this ladder. So you want to hold up right and L1 for this ladder, and you will run straight up to the next ladder. Is that right? Yeah, upright L1. Hop on the ladder and upright R1 for this one. And then you'll get in the Oof.
Yeah, everything's good.
Yep. And then the rest of the movement, thankfully, is not anywhere near as complicated. But that screen is pretty tricky when you don't know how to do it. So hop in the train to push that carriage out of the way. You get one more random encounter.
So this is all like this RNG manipulation you did at the start of the run is now what's allowing you to do the RNG manipulation now.
Yeah, so it's not really random encounters are not random at all. There's nothing really specifically random about them. They will always happen on the same after you've taken the same amount of steps, and you'll always get the same formation, like the same enemies. It will always be either a normal encounter or the random encounter that we got a couple screens ago was a preemptive. That will always be preemptive. There isn't really anything random about random encounters in this game on field map screens. It's all completely manipulatable.
So the step count you start at the start is the same step count that you're using now to get this predictable result.
Yes. It's all part of the same manipulation. It's one thing that just keeps going and going. Like it's not really a repeating thing. Well, technically it does repeat, but it's only after 65,535 steps, which we will not be taking.
Are there any categories that get close to that?
No, not even close.
Oh wow.
Not even the full PlayStation runs get that close.
Whereas in a casual playthrough, you might.
Yeah, if you're doing a casual playthrough and you do grinding, you'll probably cycle over. Alright, but other than that, we get to jam out to those who fight.
I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, looking at this run, it looks like once, you know, with the documentation Diesel provided, which by the way will be in the Thunderthon Discord, you guys are. This looks like a pretty learnable category.
Yeah, this one's not very heavy on. Like, I'm definitely giving you guys extracurricular things with the skips. The skips are a little bit tricky to learn to start off with, but in terms of executing the fights are really easy for this category. The fights don't really start getting hard in other categories until you start getting towards the second half of Disc 1. That's when things start getting a bit more complicated. But this is definitely, in terms of being able to finish a run, this is pretty simple. So hop up the steps. You will try and get around these steps as with clean movement as possible, and you'll get an encounter about here. Oh, nice. We even got Cloud's Limit, which might come in handy.
Oh, nice.
Chad's Hair's Limit.
Are you just gonna have them let their hair down? I get one every stream, I'm sorry. Chad's gonna boo me for that.
Okay, so using the limits in the Reno fight isn't necessary. You can try and do it if you want to save time, or if you're really worried about your grenades, which you shouldn't be if you're doing this route. You'll get plenty of grenades for this route. But you can try and cut one of Reno's turns off, but the only scenario where you want to use a limit is if you throw one grenade. The only scenario where you want to use a limit is if you use one grenade before Reno's first turn. That's the only time when it's worth it. If you don't get any grenades off before Reno's first turn, don't even worry about using limits for this route.
Gotcha.
It's just grenades again. And
It's kind of surprising. Limits hit hard.
yeah, but they're about the same as a grenade. The only reason why Cloud's... you got Cloud, damn. The only reason why Cloud's limit hits hard on apps is because of the back attack damage.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, they're about the same as a grenade. And it's a slower animation. So if you've got the grenades, it's better off to just use them. Oh dear. That can happen, unfortunately. Where you get a paralyze.
Which cuts your damage down pretty far, it looks like.
It doesn't cut the damage down. It paralyzes them. They don't take their turn. It's basically kind of like a less inconvenient form of stop because it doesn't last as long. But he won't take his turn, so Reno will get an extra turn off.
Makes sense. And you are getting experience from the bosses here, which is why...
Yes. Yeah, which is why we don't actually try to win any of the random encounters in this category. We get enough experience off the bosses to get through.
You're about level 5, level 7? Somewhere in there?
Yeah, I think... so, the only really low-level character is Aerith, because we skip her naming sequence. She actually starts at level 1 when you get her. But she goes up to level 5 after the apps fight, so it's fine. as well, and she's not
Gotcha.
used. She's not used very much in this category at all. It's really just mostly Barrett and Tifa in your party. So
I forgot this guy's a jerk in this cutscene.
sorry.
I forgot he's such a jerk in this cutscene, kidnapping Aerith.
Oh yeah. So just talk to Barrett as soon as you can. And this is a good part of the run to have a 45-second break because it's just FMVs.
Really?
Yep, and I'm gonna have a drink.
That's fair. So this is kind of like, getting to this part is kind of like a part to collect your nerves and make sure that you're...
Yeah, you can start thinking about what's coming up next. Review your notes if you do have a shop coming up about 5 minutes on after this FMV, after a couple of cutscenes, so you can take a look at how the shop is supposed to go.
Yeah, you don't have your notes open. Looks like you're a good chunk of the way through the run already.
Yeah, this is about probably a third of the way through.
Gotcha.
About a third of the way through at this point. Most of this run is basically get through Midgar as fast as possible because you need to get access to the world map and the Calm flashback in order to set up the ROM loops.
Alright, well.
This scene was pretty awesome in Remake.
Oh, yeah. The remake was nuts.
Yeah. I love how much they expanded Barrett's character in the remake.
Yeah, he's a lot more human.
Yeah.
Though I do have to say, Cloud has the best clapback in the remake.
Oh, well, which part?
When Barrett's talking in the elevator in Reactor 1 about, do you hear the planet? And Cloud just replies, get help.
Don't you hear... Oh, yeah, don't you hear the planet screaming? I know you can. You really hear that? Damn straight I do. Get help.
Just like, yikes,
Savage.
Cloud.
He's got a couple of moments like that. Alright, so Cloud is currently on his own at the moment. Now, if you're on step count, this is completely fine. Actually, basically all scenarios you're completely fine because you get a full heal up on Cloud in case you do get an encounter. And if you're on step count, the next encounter is also a preemptive, so you don't need to worry about taking any damage because you'll get that instant escape. But in the meantime, just hit this trigger for the cutscene, and then Barrett and Tifa re-enter the party anyway. Oh, Marlene is so cute. Like that scene where just before the plate collapses with Aerith. Like, I wasn't expecting it, but goddamn, that made me emotional.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah. So yeah. Side attack, not a preemptive, but same effect. You get that instant escape.
Oh, it's the house.
Yep, Hell House. We actually get one on the way out as well.
Yeah. I remember fighting those in the remake, and they were
Oh,
not fun.
yeah. Especially on hard mode. Did you play hard mode?
I didn't finish it on hard, but I did play through a little bit of it, and that was...
You should get up to Hell House on hard mode. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but yeah, that's an experience.
It was yikes.
Yeah, you should play hard mode. Alright, so pick up the ether in Aerith's Garden. The ethers we don't need to actually use, we're only going to sell them, but they sell for 750 gil, so that's the big way in which we make most of the money in this route. And then head into Aerith's house and rip through the rest of these cutscenes.
It is kind of nice you have like this moment of downtime, right?
Yeah. And then you upload your PBs to YouTube and instantly get copyright claimed for this scene. It's always this one.
That's brutal.
Yeah. Nice deal. Gotta grind those materia up for the NG Plus runs.
So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I looked at. I'm surprised this category has gotten as short as it has. 2.5 hours for a Final Fantasy game. If you'd have told me that a year ago, I'd have been like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like we actually had a lot of skips actually come out in the last over the last 6 months or so. Before, actually, it's probably more like 4 months actually. Yeah, about 6 months ago, the world record stood at 2 hours 30 minutes by Zeal. And Zeal is an absolutely incredible runner. And yeah, so like the sub 230 was really a dream. And then another runner by the name of RJ the Destroyer, he found Mansion Skip, and I believe he found Mansion Skip, and he also figured out with Mansion Skip how to set up the warps in a different way, which saved a lot of time. He had a couple of iterations with setting up the warps. The first one saved about 15 minutes, cut the time down to around about a 2:15, and then there was a second variation of the warps which cut off another 15 minutes, or actually 15 or 20 minutes or so. So we ended up started to get sub 2 hour times, and then another skip was found by someone who's a little bit more in the background of routing Final Fantasy VII and finding skips, by the name of King Snarker. He found a really, really simple but very well hidden thing in the dev room where you can actually save quite a lot of time, which I won't spoil for you because it's actually quite a good laugh. But that saved another 4 minutes. So now it's down to the low 150s. Like my runners are 152. So maybe we could get sub 150, but I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening with the current route, a sub 152. If Zeal comes back to PC any percent, then I think he would get I think he'd get a 151. But sub 150, I don't see possible. But I've said things like that in the past, and I get disproven. So who knows?
It's like one of those speed games that the more people that pick it up, the more ways you can break the game over your knee, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right. But it's getting to a point where like we don't really have any conceptual idea on setting up the wrong warps the faster way anymore. So I think if we were to get any more time save, it would have to be in Midgar. So maybe if someone finds another skip in Midgar that we haven't figured out before, then we could cut that down to sub 150. But I think that would be the most likely way. I think more time save would be found in this route now.
So there you have it. There's some glitches to go chase.
Yeah. Unless you can find a way to skip calm flashback, but many people have tried and no one has succeeded. Alright. So we need to do a shop. We need to stock up on grenades again. So going to sell all of your ethers. You should have 4 if you picked up all the ones along the way. Sell the assault gun, Phoenix Downs, and the high potion. If you picked up a potion, you don't need to sell that. You can keep that for safety. And then buy 51 grenades. Yeah. And you should have plenty of grenades for this rat. Unless you get caught by the guards or anything like that. But the important thing is you need to have at least 300 gil after this shop. That is important because you need to buy the batteries and they cost 300 in order to progress the story.
Gotcha.
That's the important thing. In case you have different itemization.
I read it in your notes, 51 grenades, but it didn't connect until you said it out loud.
This guy has pretty long animation, so it's a bit annoying if he gets one off, but not much you can do about it. You can try and buffer an attack if you think you can get first turn, but yeah. Sometimes you're just going to get that long animation. Every problem in the world can be solved by the careful application of explosives.
I don't think the words careful and explosive belong in the same sentence.
Sure they do. Controlled demolition.
I stand corrected.
So make sure you talk to this guy. I've done it several times where you forget to buy the grenades. It's a horrible feeling when you get to the first batteries. Make sure you buy batteries. It's a horrible feeling where you get to the first battery point and you realize that you actually forgot to buy them and you have to go all the way back and buy them. Because the game will let you get all the way to the first battery point.
Put grenades in the battery slot. For the briefest of instances, that device is powered.
It's all about the energy.
For like 1 nanosecond of that device's life, there's enough energy coursing through it in the form of heat that it has power.
Yeah. So now we get to stare at this propeller spinning around in circles for the next, like, 40 seconds. Blast is an element.
That's an in-joke. Almost knows how to get underneath my skin.
Batteries output energy. Grenades also output energy, just very quickly. This is true.
Yeah. The problem is not the energy, it's the release time.
That's right.
Those aren't batteries, those are... like, they're huge.
Yeah. Don't worry too much about trying to get through that screen as fast as possible, because it's on a cycle with the pole swinging back and forth. There's a very hard cap on how fast you can do that screen, and it's not very difficult to make the first cycle on that. So you definitely don't need to rush that. You just got to make sure you time your jump correctly.
I hope no one in the audience is afraid of heights.
Yeah. Looking up is okay. Looking down is something else. Kinos did a random swinging thing was replaced with a different texture. Oh, that would have been fun. Okay, so we're going to be a bit of a troll to Dan's donut. He wants to go in and just shoot everyone, and we're going to tell him that we are going to shoot everyone, but we're not. We're going to take the stairs.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It actually doesn't matter which dialogue option you set there. You can just match through the text boxes. but you do need to do a menu here. Go into config, set the ATB to wait, and go into order, and yeah, put everyone in the back row. That is true, Alanus.
Yeah, it's fair.
Oops.
I appreciate that Dan's Donut just told Foxy's hair not to go alone.
Yo, wait up!
Funny.
Wait up, Chad's hair! Oh no, there's a Monka toss word coming up in this dialogue.
Is there?
Yeah. It's not
alright
for,
dialogue.
not for a few screens though. There is an elixir in the stairwell that you pass. You don't need to pick it up though. You can if you want the safety item, but yeah, it's not necessary anymore.
Okay.
And yeah, in case you're wondering, there are actually 59 flights of stairs. I've counted them.
10 away from nice.
True.
They
That's a
make
shame.
you run. That's insane.
Yeah, well, most people take the elevator, but when they play casually. But yeah, it's actually there's a couple of problems with taking the elevator. One, the elevator is random with whether or not you get encounters. Well, you always get the same type of encounters on the specific floor that you get to, but the floor that gets selected is randomized, and we haven't found a way to actually manipulate it yet. So that makes it incredibly inconsistent and a pain for routing with grenades.
Yeah. I like how Foxy Sarah just pointed out it takes just as long to go up the stairs as it does to go down.
That depends on how you go down. You could just jump through the gap in the middle.
Yeah, but
gravity will do the rest.
I mean, Barrett's done sillier things in the movies. He can just fire his machine gun arm down to recoil his way up. He's done goofier and Advent Children. They'll be fine.
I think the next one is the Monka toss screen, if I remember correctly.
Get your Monka toss emotes ready, chat.
Yeah, it's this one. It's not too bad, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering how long the delay was. Now I know.
It took me a second to parse it.
Yeah. All right. So once we get to the top of the stairs, wait for Barrett and Tifa to get up here as well, because you do have to wait for them. All right. True.
I never want to see them.
All right, so when you get on the screen, now step count is a bit funny on this screen. It's turned off before you enter the scripted fight with these red guards in front of the elevator, but it is turned on after the fight. So in order to save as many steps as you can and make your movement a little bit easier, run into the position that I did, where I'm basically just running along the top of this couch sofa thing. and then run right, and then after I pass it, I'll run down like a little bit more, and I'll basically run straight at the red guard at the bottom, and that way I will progress step count as least as possible. And this will make it easier to keep step count for you guys, because you don't want to get an extra encounter in Nibelheim Flashback. That kind of sucks. Yeah. Now, when you actually get into this fight, this is the first fight where ATB is actually set to wait, where when you're in the item menu or any menu in battle, the battle just completely stops. None of their ATBs are filling at the moment. They're just standing there chilling. So the idea behind having ATB wait is to minimize the number of animations that the enemies will get, because these guys have two phases. They have their red guard, and then they have their red armor, and then their red armor is destroyed, and then they turn into the blue guys on skates. And when you destroy the red armor, their ATB resets to 0. So if you can, it's a bit of a race, and sometimes you don't always win it. It's a little bit random depending on what stats you have, because your ATB speed is actually determined by your stats, and your stats are semi-random, so you can't always get it. But the more grenades that you get off on first turn, the better, because you won't get animations off the red armor, and then the ATB will reset. And the same character that destroyed the red armor will then go into a race to try and kill the guy with the blue armor as fast as possible. So you want to destroy each red armor, and then have the character that destroyed the red armor destroy the same blue version as well. So they're all entering into this race. So I'll start off with Barrett, then Tifa will do the second, and then Cloud will do the third, and then each character will attack the same enemy again to kill them.
Gotcha.
Hopefully we get some good animations here.
Okay.
Now Barrett's usually the slowest, so... Oh, nice. Nice, perfect fight. That doesn't happen very often. Usually you do get animations in that fight, but that was really lucky.
PogChamp.
Alright, so after that you get the keycard and you get the 60th floor. Now this is... The next screen coming up is one of the most painful when you want to do this really fast. So I'm going to teach just going to go through a really simple method. When you're just starting to learn this route, you have to... This is the screen where you have to sneak past the guards, and it's absolutely horrible. So I recommend practicing this, and practice it in a way in which you will not get caught. I don't really care. If you're just starting out, I wouldn't worry about trying to get through the screen as fast as possible, because it is really difficult to get through the screen in the most optimal method. So to start off with, get comfortable with it and just focus on not getting caught, because if you get caught, you get taken into a battle, you lose a chunk of time. It's horrible. But head to the 60th floor, and you need to talk to Tifa and Barrett once each when you're in the elevator. So as soon as you gain control of Cloud on this screen is when the cycles start for the guards. And I'll go through my kind of basic setup, but if you want to take this even slower, then you can.
Mm-hmm.
So I do one, and then I book it for both. You do have a fair bit of time to get past both of them when they're walking. But I wouldn't do it when I was running. For the running guards on the right side, that is. Yeah, I'm going to take it pretty easy on this one. I'm not going to try and do the most optimal strats.
Okay, so this is just a timing thing.
Yeah, unfortunately it is. For this one, you basically want to go around just a split second after the first guard run. So you notice with Tifa, I don't try and cross this gap because it's way too far. I'll let these guys do a cycle, so I've got a little bit of time to explain it. But when the guards are in this position, wait until a split second after the first guard starts running. Not at the same time. If you run at the same time as the first guard starts running, you will get caught because those guards don't move at the same time. The one that you have to cross in front of actually starts a little bit later, so you do have to wait a split second.
Gotcha.
And then once you've done that, head up 61st floor, nice and simple. Talk to this guy. Second option, and he gives you the key card. And F's in chat for him because I'm pretty sure tomorrow he's going to get fired.
F.
Alright, so what method I'm going to teach this, because there's like 3 different ways to do this. I'll teach you the bookshelf method. I'd say that's a pretty good balance. Now, on this floor, you have a password game with Mayor Domino. Now, you don't need... He gives you items based on whether or not you get the password right the 4th, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th time. If you get any more guesses than that, then he doesn't give you anything. Now, it doesn't matter for the run what item you get at all. You don't need anything specific in this route. Obviously, it's most optimal to get the password right first time, but if you just want to guess this, it's completely fine. The password is either best, king, bomb, or Marco. There's actually 6 options that you can pick, but it will only be one of those 4. Now, if you do want to know the password, you run up to this bookshelf, run up to the center bookshelf on the left-hand side, and talk and find out what the thing is. And I actually can't remember what new is. I think it's Marco?
New is Mako.
Yeah.
Yeah, new is Mako.
Yeah, it's been that while, because there is another method where you can use the in-game time. That's the most optimal, but I'm not going to go through in-game time for newer runners.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, so new is Marco. In the notes is all of the things. The first word of this book will tell you, will correlate to the answer of the password. So, economic
is best.
Yeah, economic is best. So you go through. You got the notes.
Economic is best. Results is king. Breakdown is bomb, and new is Mako.
Yep. And then talk to the bot. Talk to Maya. And select whichever password you got. And once you've done that, head to the elevator. 65th floor.
Yeah, you're cruising.
Yep. Okay, so this screen you basically have to run back and forth. You have to run to this chest first. This is the only chest that you can open to start off with. There are a bunch of different ways. A most common way is putting the first piece into this section of the city here, and then that unlocks all of the chests, apparently. I've never actually done it. I'll just stick with my method because I know it works. I stick top right, and I have to do it in a specific order, but honestly, it doesn't matter because you have to run to each chest once and then back to put it back in. It doesn't really matter what order you do the chests, as long as you don't end up in front of a locked one, it's fine. So you can do my method, you can do the bottom method, as long as you're not going in front of a lock, not running all the way to a locked chest, then you're fine. So my method is this after the random encounter, the chest in the same room as which you pick up the first one. Yeah. And I basically just, start from the top right section, and I just move clockwise around the city, and then go to each specific what do you call it? Treasure chest that I need to go to. That's my method. Yeah. Yeah, David Stereo has a tutorial about the PlayStation no slots category. So you can go over that for the Midgar section. That's it's a very good tutorial for explaining stuff. Obviously the shops and the itemization and a lot of the setups are going to be different to this route. But yeah, Dave's tutorials are very good for explaining a lot of things in this run, and a lot of things do carry over. So they're very good to watch if you want to go through them.
Yeah, and this VOD will be up on Twitch as well if you want to learn that. And also, you have a tutorial video you have as a highlight, right?
Yes. Well? I'm actually going to replace this VOD with the old tutorial I did for newer runners, because that one's slightly out of date with the warps. But I will put that. I will replace the VOD for this one with with the older one that I used to have up.
For sure.
That'll be available on the speedrun.com guide section for FS7.
There you go. Yeah. And there's a Discord and stuff while we're kind of...
yeah, so there's a Final Fantasy Speedrun Discord. There's a link for it in the speedrun.com page for pretty much all of the Final Fantasy games that I recommend you join. There's a bunch of people that can help you. I'm there periodically to see if people are asking questions, and there's a lot of other runners that can help out as well with this category, or if you're running any other Final Fantasy category. It's pretty much one big hive for all the Final Fantasy speedruns, and we've got a channel dedicated to each Final Fantasy game.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just, I can't find that link and plug it in the chat while you're mashing through cutscenes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, try FF9. I'm pretty sure that one should have it.
Yes, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to join the Discord, there's a link in the chat if you want to join the Discord there, or the Final Fantasy IX page will have that as a Discord link you can go grab. So if you want to learn Final Fantasy Discord and learn the run, there you go.
Yeah. All right. She's gonna be a Karen today. Don't be a Karen. Don't be a Karen. Okay, she wasn't a Karen. Sometimes she does turn there and get in your way, so that's why we call her Karen. She's annoying.
So by comparison, FF9 is a 7.5 hour run?
On PlayStation, it's actually... world record is 8 hours 39 minutes. Most people do it in around about 9 to 9.5.
Yeah. Versus this is 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah, 2.5 roughly for a newer runner. Less than 2 when you got a bit of experience under your belt.
Well, there you go. Definitely one of the learning categories.
Right, so that last screen was on Step Count is live, but it's pretty simple screen to go through. Nothing too complicated. And then after this cutscene, we'll be going into the sample fight. Sample fight can be really rough because there's 4 enemies in it, each with their own ATB. So the number of turns that you get in that fight is a bit random. So you can lose time there, and there's not really much you can do about it. But same tactic as before, just kill it with grenades. Also, that thing has no head.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
Yep, head's gone.
Hi, Genova. How's it going? The goodest boy? Yeah.
I love hearing theories about remake, about what's going to happen, and I came to a realization last night when I was playing the intro again. I think people are on the right mark, but slightly wrong as to when things started going wrong in remake, without getting into too much spoiler territory. All right. There is a save point to the right. It will cost you a little bit in terms of step count, but if you do want to save, you can. Before sample. Sample's not particularly dangerous, but you do start running out of save points that are on step count after this point, so that's up to you.
Gotcha. So, safety save point.
Yeah. There are save points in later on, like before the 100 gunner Rufus motorball section, but they're a little bit out of the way, so you could risk getting an extra encounter. It's up to you as to whether or not you want to do that or not. All right. I imagine less of a creep. Dude, that guy's creepy in remake.
He's less of a creep though.
I suppose in the aspect of cross-species breeding, okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so you do have a dialogue option here. It doesn't really matter who you take. I take Barrett. There's an argument for both, but I'd say take Barrett. So in order to take Barrett, select the first option. If you want to take Tifa, take the second. But I go with Barrett for this fight.
Gotcha.
And
I think best boy is just play, isn't it?
yeah, unfortunately we don't really use red much in this route, but we can still name him. All right, so it's 8 grenades onto sample. When you do, so while ATB is in wait mode, you want to really focus on making sure that when you do, when you selecting your inputs and managing your ATB, you want to put yourself in a position where the only time that the enemy's ATB is filling is when at least 2 of your character's ATBs are also filling. So that's ideally the best situation in which you can go. I kind of messed it up a little bit,
right.
But in order to minimize turns, that's basically what you want to do. You only want ATB to be filling at when it's benefiting you as well as the enemy. Obviously, if you could have the enemies not fill their ATB, that would be great. But at least you can at least put yourself in a position where 2 of your characters are earning ATB when the enemy is. So that's what you should. That's a good rule of thumb for what you should aim for when you're trying to minimize the number of turns that this boss gets. Because this boss can get a lot if you don't manage ATB properly.
And that represents a little bit more danger.
Yeah. So I will wait for Clad to actually empty his ATB again before I confirm Barrett's.
Gotcha.
Like so.
So he had 8 grenades usually?
Yeah, 8 grenades for this fight. Better using soldiers than a wolf from the mountains.
Yeah.
Alright. Cosmo Canyon theme.
Cosmo Canyon is one of my favorite attractions in the series.
Yep. Definitely. Alright, so once you get control of Cloud again, one more quick menu, go into your config, set the ATV back to active, order, put red in the back row. And that's it. You don't need to pick up enemy skill for this category.
Which are enemy skills a drop or?
They're mostly found. Yeah, they're all found. The first one is here, the second one's in Junin, the third is in City of the Ancients, and the fourth is the Chocobo Sage's hut.
I just want to make sure I heard you right. Chocobo Sage.
Yes, there is a Chocobo Sage in this game. He sells
That's
he sells all of the best greens to increase Chocobo stats for breeding. And my cord's tangled. There we go.
That's
Alright.
awesome.
66th floor elevator and get caught.
So you have to get caught here?
Yeah, it's part of the story. You ended up killing the smaller ones that end up regenerating. Oh yeah, that's not the way you do the fight. They regenerate way too fast.
Yeah, it looks like we're smooth cruise here.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we're basically getting towards the we're about 2/3 of the way through now. Of the run.
And you'd be usually wrapping up a normal run by, well,
I'd be done by now.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say like an average time for me would be around about a 155 to
155.
yeah, 154 maybe. My PBs are 152.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah, and that had very good RNG towards the end, so that was definitely a good PB. Yeah, like for a first time runner, like if you were just starting, I would budget around about 2.5 hours or so, and then you can just gradually work that down as you get more comfortable. Run up to the door, wonder how Aerith is doing, and head back down a little bit, just to give yourself a little bit of leeway, because you have to hit that door trigger again once the cutscene with Aerith is finished. Because if you run straight up, if you stay straight up at this door, you can't re-trigger by just pressing up. You have to run down and up again. And now we get to a little bit, our first explanation of the Promised Land, which doesn't really answer any questions at all, but okay.
Alright.
But Aerith can speak with the planet.
That's totally a normal thing that your average person can do, right?
Well-
Just talk to the planet. It's fine.
To be fair, with the translation that we got of the original FF7, I'm just glad that she didn't say that I hear voices in my head.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
After all, this is the game that gave us this guy R6, so...
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And Genova gets one line in this entire game, and it's spelt wrong in the original. It's correct in the PC version, it got fixed, but the original PlayStation version, yeah, she gets one line and it's spelt wrong.
F.
Yeah, she says, because you are a puppet, and because is spelled B-E-A-C-A-U-S-E. So it's because.
Because you're a puppet.
Yep.
That's not quite all your base or belong to us, but it's getting there.
Yeah. Alright, talk to Barrett, talk to Tifa, and now continue on. And into the elevator. I probably could have saved there. Oh well. That'll be fine. These fights are pretty safe. One random encounter on the way to the next cutscene, which is preemptive, so don't need to worry about damage. One thing about step count, because there's a lot, don't run down here, run up. It's a shorter distance.
Ah.
Save time and steps.
Well, that's a conspicuous sword.
Yep. Which is, I don't know how the explanation is that the sword got here in the storyline. Because, yeah, story reasons. I don't know.
Sephiroth can summon his sword whenever he wants, alright?
Yeah, but Sephiroth's not here.
Eh,
It's Genova that kills him.
I mean... But I suppose if he's... Here's my bad lore explanation.
Yep.
She used Sephiroth's sword to prove a point.
Do you think he got the point?
Ah! We're good. It's okay, you can boo me off stage, chat. I respect it.
Boo.
That's fair.
I don't know why I'm doing you. I made the joke. Okay.
He was impaired by a part of Genova.
Could have been used impaired by fire. Impaled? Maybe.
It could be a part of Genova they used the sword model for.
Yeah, maybe. A Sephiroth sword made of Genova cells. That would be pretty monka.
I mean, it explained why he can summon it.
Yeah, true. Alright, so this part, you get an option to remove Cloud's materia here. It doesn't really matter which one you do or not. If you're kind of worried about your grenades, then remove the materia, because you can use Cloud's limit in the Rufus fight to save a grenade. But that's it. If you've got plenty of grenades at this point, and I think you should. How many have I used? 42. Yeah, that's oodles. Yeah, you don't need to worry about your grenade count too much. Now, with step count, it is actually possible to be too far ahead of step count as well. And especially with PC, because PC is easier to keep step count with than PlayStation. So, you want to get your encounter as a rule of thumb, anywhere between the first door here and the second door. If you don't get it before the second door, you should force it. Yeah, I'll force it.
You just run back and forth. And
yeah, just run up and down. Which I was quite far ahead, so this will take a while. Yeah. It's a little annoying, but nice long animation. But yeah, as long as you force the encounter before the second door, you're fine. If you're getting step count this far, your movement's really, really good. You don't need to worry about improving it anymore with on the screens that have encounters on them. So once you've done that, head into the elevator and start the fight. This is a pretty good point to gauge whether or not you've got enough grenades. Now, if you're doing this right, you should have enough grenades anyway, unless you got caught by the unless you got caught by the guards on the 60th floor. You should have plenty of grenades here. You need to have at least 37. You need 20 for this fight, 5 for the Rufus fight, and 10 for Motorball. And you want to have 2 grenades on top of that for the world map fights that we have to do to solve the get the wrong warps organized. So you want to have 37 by this point. If you have less than 37, it's fine. You can use limit breaks from Barrett and Red in this fight and Cloud in the Rufus fight to make up for it. So like for example, if you had 33 instead of 35, I would just use Barrett and Red's limit break here instead of a grenade to make up for that damage, because they do the same amount of damage as a grenade at this point.
Okay.
But other than that, it's surprise, surprise, grenades for the entire fight. And Barrett actually got a first attack off, and they're shooting the doggo.
No, don't shoot the best boy. Well, he is the tank, isn't he?
Yeah. This guy is the biggest. I think he's 12 grenades to kill, and then the second boss that comes down is 8. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 1200 HP and then 800 HP.
Yeah, sounds right. Oh yeah, the HP totals are in my notes, aren't they?
Yep.
Yep.
That's how I sound smart.
We don't. Dan Spence asking what was Aerith's name going to be. We don't get an opportunity to name Aerith. We skip that section of the game, so it defaults to Aerith with a TH. Because, haha, this game is coded fantastically.
I mean, we're what? 1, 2... 2 sections from the wrong warps where you just break the game?
Yeah, basically. After this, it's just Motorball. Rufus fight, obviously. Now, Red gets sleep. This guy inflicts sleep, and there's not really much you can do about it, unfortunately. Oh, I'll wake him up, apparently.
The only valuable skill Aerith learned this entire run was how to throw a grenade.
Yeah, pretty much. Man, could you please stop shooting Red? This is just cruel. You might actually die here.
He's fine.
Nah, I think he's dead. Yep. Red's dead, baby. Red's dead. Pulp Fiction reference. So as soon as you get this, just go straight into the fight. You don't need to do any menus. So press start.
The fact that Red is dead is not a big deal.
No, it's fine. he's not used after that fight at all. Alright, so for this fight, kill the dog first. And with a grenade. The grenade does have a chance to under damage. It can roll either a 138 or a 139. If that happens, either basic attack or use a limit break on the dog again. If that happens. As long as Cloud is in the back row for this fight, you should be fine with surviving it, because Rufus is only going to do 25 damage per shotgun.
Oh, wow, okay. So, for the rogue, does it actually affect how much damage you take, or what's happening there?
Yeah, so the game is set. You can either put your characters into front row or back row. Front, it only affects physical damage. Having a character in the front row has them do full damage with their physical attacks, but they take full damage from the physical attacks. Having them in the back row, they only do half damage with their physical attacks, but they also only take half damage. Magic is not affected. It always does full damage based on their magic stats. Rows do not come into effect. And same with items. Even if items do physical damage, like grenades do physical damage, but they are not affected by rows, so they will always do full damage when you throw grenades.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And so, for example, if you wanted to use a braver in this fight, you could do so. For illustration purposes only. And braver is another thing that can also under damage on Rufus if you do have to go down that route. If for some reason you need to save a grenade, which if that happens again, a basic attack will be enough to kill him at that point. Or you could just use 4 grenades on Rufus and it'll get him every time. Now, after this, go into your menu, materia, Cloud gets restore, and lightning. And you don't need to worry about healing here if you are on step count. If you're not on step count, you should heal, because you have to go through a section where you can get encounters with Cloud on his own, and if you got like criticals and you get a fight where you get like a really bad escape RNG, you could die here. Because I'm on step count, I don't have to worry about it, but if you're not on step count and you haven't, or you've lost it at some point during the run, you should definitely heal at this point.
Okay.
Because it's this screen running on the way to Tifa where you still have step count. Okay. But once you've done that, just head straight to the door with Aerith. And we'll start the bike minigame. Oh yeah, Rufus fight was epic in the remake. Because it's such a nothing fight in Classic, it's kind of ridiculously easy. But the remake fight for Rufus was so awesome.
Oh yeah.
I actually I really struggled with the first phase with fighting what's it called? I think he's called Darkstar in the remake. The dog? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Dark Nation in Classic, Darkstar in remake, I think. And I really struggled, so Cloud took a lot of damage and he ended up getting his limit break. And I assessed Rufus, and when you assess Rufus it says his stagger, he can only take stagger if you land a specific move on it. So okay, let's give this a try. Well, let's start methodically. Like, what's the first move that you get access to? Braver. Alright, I'll try using a Braver on him. Braver. Hits. Staggers. Sweet. Use my limit. He's dead. It's like I speedrun Rufus by accident.
There's a certain amount of that, like when you speedrun something enough, you can't turn it off.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so Motorball is it's theoretically a safe fight, but it's one of the highest levels of execution. Now, when you enter Motor Ball is actually a back attack, so everyone in your back row will actually be in the front row for this fight, and they'll take full damage from physical. And Motor Ball does a mixture of physical and magic, so you will take full damage from his magic attacks, which are his fire attacks. If you want to play this fight safe, do a menu before you start the minigame and put everyone into the front row. In fact, I'll actually do this because I would rather not die here. Just to make sure, in case I get like a troll crit or something like that, which can happen. So yeah, if you want to be particularly safe, if you're not too worried about it, you can just leave everyone in the front row. 95% of the time, this fight will go fine. Completely fine. It's just in case he gets like some weird troll crit on Cloud or Barrett and they end up dying, things can go south really quickly. So if you do want to play this particularly safe, yeah, stick them in the front row. But other than that, just press start to start the bike minigame. And when you do the bike minigame, you want to make sure you preserve as much HP as you can. In order to do that, take out all the bikes except the red ones. Because the red ones are programmed to always retreat when you swing your sword. So as long as you keep swinging your sword, they'll always be retreating. He's going to take him out, isn't he? Yeah.
Some rock.
Man, I'm getting pretty bad luck with the red bikes. Although I never get good luck with the red bikes, I swear.
Nature of a section like this.
Yeah. Come on, one more. If the red bikes start to pull ahead, just get in front of them and then work your way back. At this point, it doesn't even matter. The game's over now.
Zephyr asked a question. What is the button used to delete characters on the name entry screen?
Oh, I use the keyboard for that. Hold down, it's C by default.
Gotcha. Alright, kick this fight around.
Yeah. Okay, so this fight gets a little bit specific after a couple of rotations. Now, Motorball has a ordered move list. He'll always do the same moves. However, there is some RNG involved with his moves as well. Now, he always starts with that roll-in attack at the start, and then your character's ATBs will fill. He will, on his first turn, he will do arm attack, and he can either do arm attack once or twice. And then his second turn will also be an arm attack, and he will do arm attack either once or twice. He will always target the character with the highest HP at the start of his turn. So for example, this will be Barrett. He will attack Barrett first with arm attack once or twice. If he does do it twice, he will still do it on Barrett, even though he won't have the highest HP anymore. He selects his target and he stays on that target whether or not he does one or two attacks. When the ATB is full, schedule up Cloud, Bolt, Tifa Grenade, Barrett Grenade, in that order. The order is important for this section. And you need to also keep track of how many times you cast bolt. You need to count up to 5 bolts. When the 5th bolt is scheduled, I'll stop again and explain the next phase of this fight. But for that point, it's Cloud Bolt, Tifa Grenade, Barret Grenade in that order. And you can you do that until you have queued Cloud's 5th bolt. Because there is some manipulation to this fight, and it is very time specific.
Gotcha.
So normally his arm attacks do around about 80 damage when you're in the front row for this fight. Now once your turn orders are set, you can just hold circle for this fight. We've queued up the 2nd bolt for Cloud.
And he just cruised through.
Yeah. So for that one, he only did 1 arm attack. 3rd bolt. Yeah, that's right, Zephyr. That's what happens. It just seems to be a glitch with how the game handles controllers. Right. 4th bolt.
That flamethrower hurts.
Yeah. Alright. Schedule the 5th bolt. Once 5th bolt is scheduled, Motorball will do his rolling attack here, and Tifa's ATB will fill up, but I will not do anything until something specific happens. Barret will throw his grenade, Cloud will cast Bolt. And once Cloud casts his 5th bolt, Motorball will go into an animation where he changes his stance, and he will stand up instead of being the position that he stands now. Now, you keep Tifa's ATB open until he starts to stand up. When he starts standing up, then hold circle, and he will die after the 3 turns. So it'll be Tifa throws a grenade, Cloud bolts, and then Barret throws his it's Tifa grenade, Barret grenade, Cloud bolt, and then he should be dead on the bolt.
It says here he's got like 2600 HP, so you're kind of whittling down a pretty big pool.
Yeah. Now, for safety, you can get low damage rolls in this. So if you, in the case where you do get low damage rolls, you can also queue up Tifa's limit once Cloud's bolt is being casted to be safe. And even if you do get to bad damage rolls with Tifa's limit, that should be fine. Yeah. The most important part of that fight is to make sure you don't, after Cloud's 5th bolt, don't throw a grenade with Tifa until that animation where he stands up starts to happen. Because that's manipulating his AI so that he doesn't take a turn. If you do it wrong, he will either do his 2nd most powerful attack, which is the fire attack that you saw earlier, or he will do his most powerful attack, which is rolling fire, which really hurts.
Is there a threat of death in that fight at that point?
When your characters are in front row, yes. Not so much if you're in the back row, you should be fine, in case you mess it up, which is why I did that. But yeah, if you're having your characters at the front row for that fight, then you are running the risk of death if you get that wrong.
Okay.
All right. But now we get to take a look at another skip. So for this skip, basically Cloud goes down this ladder, bonk it to Tifa either 3 or 4 times. I just had to do that first to make sure it's in the right position. Once you've done that, transition to down left. Now what we're going to try and do is that when you try and leave this screen, you get this dialogue option where you either stay here and talk to the characters, or you select let's go, and that progresses the story. Now this skip works just like pretty much all the other skips that I've explained, with Jesse skip and bar skip, where you talk to Barrett on the same frame as you hit that trigger, and you can skip the cutscene where you go through and set your part in, or the dialogue that's involved. So when you bump into Tifa 3 or 4 times, it's not super precise. You transition to down left, and then from down left you try and hit circle on the same frame. It's actually a slightly larger, it's a little bit of a window. It's not frame perfect, but it is a little narrow. So it'll take a little bit of, it might take a couple of goes or a bit of practice to get this, but
definitely not the most insane skip you've shown today.
Nah, definitely not. So you definitely want to just try and, it's more of a sense of timing, and it's really just something where you kind of get a feel for it, where the actual point where you need to hit confirm is. But when you do that, you'll get this happen where I've talked to I've talked to Barrett, because Barrett has actually shifted his position. He actually turned to face Cloud. His dialogue hasn't started yet, because I hit the trigger first before talking to Barrett. Now, the text box will glitch in one of 2 ways. You will either see this happen, where you saw this text box before, but it wasn't as big. This is one of the ways in which the text box glitches, where it's way too big, because the game has glitched and it thinks it's actually running dialogues Barrett, so it's using extra big text boxes. Where it shouldn't be. This is how you know you've got it. The other way is if you actually get it on the first frame, where you talk to Barrett and hit the trigger at the same time, the text boxes glitch in a slightly different way. It's very obvious that they have glitched, because you won't be able to see all of the text. So it'll be either of those 2 ways, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the way in which you do the skip. So once you've got this, you select the second option to let's go, and then you get through this dialogue, where you just finish off Barrett's dialogue, and I can move again and I can leave.
Awesome.
And that's Barrett's skip. Alright, so if you want to have a good laugh, I'll just do a quick safety save. But if you want to have a good laugh when you're learning this route, you can go back into Midgar, because the trigger, in the code, the game hasn't detected that cutscene is finished. So this happens. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it?
Cloud?
Yeah.
Cloud, you okay there, buddy? He's having a good time.
Yep. Okay. But other than that, once you get onto the world map, head straight for calm. But yeah, that's a pretty funny glitch that occurs. That's actually the scariest fight, because they got Metro Magic. Those guys. But yeah, head straight for calm. And we'll get straight into the flashback, where we start really breaking this game. Well, actually, not the first time. The first time we got to get through the flashback and do some setups.
This is the beginning of the breaking.
Yeah. Okay. So coming up at the start of this flashback, you have a fight with Sephiroth against the dragon. This is one of the scariest parts of the run when you're trying to grind your time down, because Sephiroth has one of 2 actions in this fight. He either attacks the dragon, or if Cloud is dead, he has a 50% chance of casting Life 2 on Cloud, which is completely useless and wastes around about 20 seconds. So there's no way to manipulate this fight. Just hope you don't get any Life 2s. It's a horrible way to lose time, but there's nothing you can do about it. Except bitch and moan, but yeah.
This is kind of insane that this fight is RNG, but not in a way that you can fail it, you just lose time.
Yeah.
Because Sephiroth can't lose in this fight, right?
No, he can't take any damage. He is literal god mode. Perfect fight. That's the best way that fight can go. His flamethrower animation is his shortest animation, and Sephiroth got first turn, so...
First turns and no life.
Yeah. That's the best outcome. And the funny thing is, like, if you don't get first turn with Sephiroth, it actually increases the chances that he uses life too. Because the dragon will either attack Cloud or Sephiroth, 50-50 chance each. And so if Sephiroth doesn't get first turn, then you're adding the chance, you're increasing the chance that Cloud dies during that fight. If you increase the chance that Cloud dies during that fight, it increases the chance of getting alive too.
and every turn after that, it keeps snowballing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do we know what the worst RNG we've heard of in that fight is?
I think the worst I've ever had is 4. The worst I've ever heard of, I think of is 7 life 2s in a row. I think Caleb Hart got that. Got a 7 life 2 run once. Which at that point I would have just I would have thrown the run away. Like, there's no point. That's a ridiculous amount of time loss.
Yeah.
Alright, so you may know about photo skip. Don't do it. You can't. Photo skip, unfortunately on PC, soft locks the game later on. So you unfortunately can't do it on PC, and we go through the full flashback.
So this is the full flashback thing, and then we have...
Yeah. So yeah, we have to go through the full flashback and then go to get through the Mithril Cave, because we need to get to a specific encounter to get to the Wrong Wops, and that encounter is on the other side of Mithril Cave. Now, when you get... now, that's kind of like the big joke with calm skip, flashback skip, because basically the run just kind of stops dead at this point for the categories.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like, yeah, we have to spend like 20 minutes here getting through this flashback. Thanks, Foxy.
Alright. Actually 20 minutes?
So step count is actually live for when you go through the Mount Nibble section of the run. This is the big reason why I went through step count, because when you're in Mount Nibble, you have Sephiroth in your party. This is to stop Cloud from dying and creating time paradoxes. The problem with that is Sephiroth is an absolute beast, and he will just absolutely murder everything in this game. And when he does that, he has very long animations for all of his spells. And when you win a fight, you also have to go through the victory fanfare, which loses a fair amount of time. So this is the big idea with step count in PC 80%, is to not get an encounter during the flashback, because that will save you a lot of time. You will get one more encounter during this run. If your step count is good enough, it will be in the Mithril Cave, not the flashback, in which case, perfect. So that is the general idea. This is kind of like the final goal with getting step count. There isn't really much more. There's a couple of ways you can improve step count further, but I won't get into that because that's just too high level for someone who wants to learn the run to start off with.
Gotcha.
So it's just up left, talk to Tifa, and up left. Pretty simple movement for this screen.
Come on, Sephiroth, you know fly.
He doesn't remake.
Yeah, actually.
He knows fly. Right, so this screen is mostly alternating between up and up right to get all the way to the end, and then up left to get into the cave.
All right. Some pretty standard movement at this point.
Yeah, this movement isn't too complicated, but there is one screen that's a little bit tricky that can kind of catch you out, which is coming up. Yeah. Hey, Painkiller. Okay. I do like this cutscene. A short summary of it is Hojo is a scrub.
I mean, he got absolutely destroyed by a level 5 red 13.
This is true. Excuse me. Alright, so this next screen is the one that has slightly tricky movement. It looks really simple, but it can catch you out. And that is because if you just run up, you will not get on the stairs, and if you just run upright, you will also not get on the stairs. So you have to alternate. You have to start with up and then transition to upright fairly quickly in order to get straight onto the stairway.
Yeah, that's it. Well, this is the infamous point in Crisis Core, right? This is the same reactor?
Yes.
Alright.
Yeah, this is
actually know where we are.
This is the setting of the Nibelheim incident. Now, if you're confident with your step count, there is something you can do that will save a couple of seconds here. I know I'm good enough on step count where I can do it. If you're not sure whether or not you're going to get an encounter by doing this, don't do it, because you will lose a lot more time than what you will save. You can't, if you just progress through this screen normally, you end up getting stuck behind Sephiroth, like pure shopping aisle at the grocery store, stuck behind an old man who won't get out of the way. So in order to get around that, you can leave this store. Jesus Christ.
Well, there you go. That's what it is now. It's
yeah,
a store.
Yeah, leave the store and then run straight back in. And that actually takes Sephiroth off the screen completely, and you can just progress through as quickly as you can. But
He's found the item he wants.
Yeah. Step count is live when you're outside the reactor, so you do need to be sure that you won't get an encounter, because if you do, then that will be a lot of time loss rather than time save. Alright, close the valve. Mr. Smiley!
This shot in Crisis Core absolutely terrified me.
Oh, yeah. I need to go back and play Crisis Core. I only played it once.
It's so good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so after this cutscene, it cuts back to Cloud and the party telling the story. You get prompted to save the game. You actually need to save the game here as part of the route. It's not a safety save, so you do need to save.
It doubles as some safety, I'd imagine. Or is this a get the trick right or fail kind of thing?
Well, you can't die after this point in flashback, so it's not really safety. There is another point later on where you can die, but it's on the world map, so you can save on the world map if you want. This is just to set up the warps.
Gotcha.
The rest of the flashback, there's no random encounters or anything. But the good thing about this save is that it's the first option when you get the dialogue option. So save game and rest. I recommend save your game in save 1 slot 2 for this. That's the most optimal setup for setting up these saves.
Gotcha.
And this is just getting through the cutscenes of flashback. Where we get to relive our childhood memories of Cloud burning down the house.
Whoops.
Burning down the house.
This is mansion skip.
This is not mansion skip. Mansion skip is done when we reload that save that we made.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
We're close.
Yeah, we're getting there. But we got Zolom skip to do as well. Oh, I lied. There's not 2 skips that you need to know, there's 3. You also need to know Zolom skip. Chad's hair is its own entity that is just piloting a Chad mech, apparently.
Sounds about right.
Yep. Hold run left there. You need to leave the screen there to continue the story. Right. Cue the ominous... I can't talk today, can I? Cue the ominous music.
This cutscene's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it does a great job selling how driven he is to consume knowledge at that point.
Not only that, like the game in general, it takes a massive tonal shift at this point.
Yeah.
It really, like... Yeah, this guy is dark and evil. And you're going to fight him.
Every other cutscene and stuff before this, aside from like every flashback cutscene, he seemed like he was a fairly he almost seemed kind in a lot of his cutscenes, like where he checks up on the group and stuff like that, where he's making sure you're okay. And this is the point where he snaps.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to how Remake does this, because that way we get like a more contextual base without any Genesis stuff going on in the background.
And Geo Genesis, though, I liked them as characters, but they were kind of...
Yeah, they were kind of in the way when the Nibelheim incident happened in Crisis Core.
Yeah.
Okay. And once the music gets super creepy, head outside. Just run upright for this section. You need to go into Cloud's home. Easiest way to do that is just hold upright in that section.
There's the infamous shot.
And that's it. Alright, we're almost done. We get to go learn Zolom Skip.
Yeah.
Just got to get through the reactor part. I do like how this game goes in this section.
So at this point, it's kind of like a skip to wrong warp type thing, where you're kind of
Pretty much,
chaining
yeah.
tricks together.
Yeah, it's definitely like all the skips are basically movement based. This section of the run is definitely the slowest part. We have to go through the calm flashback at the moment. There was another warp method that was set up where you only have to go through the first half of the flashback, but it didn't end up saving time because you couldn't set up the warp in the same way, unfortunately. I really wish it would work, but it didn't. You have to go through extra boss fights afterwards, which are very hard to do, and it makes it it also made the route very reset heavy. Which, if anyone knows the old route, it was the Materia Keeper Palmer bosses that you had to go through. So there is a this section has a rapid flashing light, so if you're sensitive to flashing lights or you have epilepsy, I'll give you a 15-second warning before it's about to start.
Awesome.
Because it's pretty bad. It's 1990s Japan bad.
That's fun.
Yeah. I don't look at the monitor at this part. It's just uncomfortable. I wouldn't even recommend, like, if you're healthy, I wouldn't recommend looking at it. It's just uncomfortable. And if you did want to look away, you should look away now.
Alright, this is the point.
Yeah, this is it. And you can look again if you looked away. Yeah.
Yeah, that's deeply unpleasant.
Yeah, it's pretty horrific. I think it's worse on PC than what it was on PlayStation. Second option for this, I almost hit the wrong one. Second option for dialogues, Barrett. For Barrett's dialogue, Jesus.
It's been a long stream. We're going strong though.
Yeah. Right. Unlock the PHS, which we never use.
F. And that's the end of Calm Flashback?
Yep, that's right. And we head to the world map and head straight for the marsh with the Zombie. That's a very early encounter. Oh, and one thing I did forget. If you put everyone into the front row, like actual front row for a safer motor ball, put everyone into the back row again. But if you didn't do that, you don't need to do anything. Yeah, if you want your characters to take less... Oh my god, it's a back attack.
F.
Yeah, oh well. Alright, so Zolom skip. So get to this position, and we are going to skip our way past the Zolom. There's two ways you can do it. There is the strat that I'll go through, and there's the cheese strat, which I'll get to. Now, this skip is basically the direction the cloud is facing now, like straight ahead. You need to run to that position, because in that position you can actually manipulate Zolom to not collide into cloud, but collide into the mountain in front of cloud. And he will bounce and go into the complete opposite direction, and using the camera, not horizontal inputs, but using the camera, you can navigate Zolom into going into the opposite corner of the swamp, and then kind of lock him in place, and that gives you enough time to cross all of the swamp, rather than having to go and buy a bloody chocobo or go and catch one. Now this has happened where Zolom kind of can get locked into place where he stays around this area, in which case you can't actually get to the place that you need to go. If that happens, just run around in circles until you get a random encounter, which I might actually have to do. That resets Zolom's position to the other side of the swamp most of the time. And then you can head to that encounter unimpeded. No, that's not going to work. So I'll see if he goes away. If not, I'll just force that encounter. Nah, that's not going to work. So yeah, I'll reset his position. Another back attack! Alright, so once that encounter's over, head straight for this wall and position the camera so that you're facing the opposite peak. When Zolom collides with the mountain, he'll turn the other way, and then just press up and you'll go, and then Zolom will only go away from you. But if you hit horizontal movement, you can lose that skip. So if you do need to go left and right, just use the camera to change direction. And that's how you do it. If you're having trouble with that skip, there is another way to do it. It's a lot slower, but you can do it. You can still save when you're in the swamp. So make it as far as you can before getting caught by the Zolom. You do need to make sure that you open the menu early, because just because the menu doesn't open immediately when you press triangle, so you do need to give it a bit of leeway with opening the menu. Then save the game, Alt F4, reload the save, and then keep going. And usually one save is enough to get far enough, but you might need to do two. If you have to do two, so be it. Just save and reload again, because Zolom always spawns in the top corner of the swamp, so you can make the distance just by save scumming. So yeah, that is an option if you want. And okay. Another optional thing, there is a cutscene where you find out that Sephiroth has killed one of the Zoloms and he's impaled on a tree. That cutscene can be skipped entirely. The trigger on the world map, you'll see that these peaks kind of have the mountain has lines sticking out of it going into the grass. The position where you get the cutscene is just below where Cloud's feet is. So probably go one more frame. Yeah. So if you press down and then open the menu on the very next frame, you can skip that trigger. So if I just go down, open the menu, and I'll do it one more time just to be sure. I'm pretty sure I've got it in that position, but down and open the menu again. That skips the trigger, and you skip that cutscene entirely.
Wow.
And you'll get one encounter in Mithril Cave, and that will be the last random encounter you get. And I think I might actually heal Tifa there.
Yeah. He's taken quite a pounding.
Yeah. Yeah, she got a bit bullied in those random encounters on the way to the Zolom.
Yeah, she's down to about half-ish.
Yeah.
That slot seemed unlucky. Red got absolutely destroyed in that slot too.
Yeah, that's right, actually. It was the same slot. Alright. So,
do it.
Once the cutscene with the Turks is over, just head outside and you'll be on the world map. Once you get on the world map, save the game. Save 1, slot 1. Please do not overwrite that save that you made in the flashback. That would be awful. Once you've made that save, Alt F4 the game. And start it up again, obviously. Wait for OBS to catch up for you guys. There we go. Alright. Save 1. Load the save that you made in the flashback.
Okay.
And this is where we start really breaking things. Okay. So, now, instead of progressing the story like we did before, we are going to do Mansion Skip, which is the third and final skip that you do need to know to do this route. Fortunately, it's definitely the easiest of the 3 mandatory skips that you need to know for this run. So, when you gain control of Cloud, you'll be here. Run back outside. When you run outside, when you're outside, run down right, and then down. And then when you stop, hold R1 and up, and keep going up until you get past, basically when you're level with this pole is enough. If you go further, it's fine.
Okay.
It's not precise. And then still holding R1, hold down, release R1, release run, hold run, release run, hold run, down right. And that's the skip. And once you've done that skip, head up to the screen transition in the top right.
Once again, you just vibrated through a person and they were cool with it.
Yeah, pretty much. And you won't actually be taken to the world map like you normally would. You get put straight into map nibble, because I honestly don't know why. That's just how this game is coded. Now, when you've done that, you just need to run around in circles in this area until you get a random encounter. Just make sure that it's close to the screen transition. Don't go running off all the way to the right, because we're going to die. This is the time paradox that I was talking about. Cloud is on his own now. He doesn't have Sephiroth with him to save his butt, and we're going to get into a random encounter.
Oh, I see.
Yep. Time paradoxes, making speedrunning possible.
The game probably has no idea what to do with that, does it?
Things start getting really weird. Yeah. So you'll game over here. Once you game over, you get this animation. Go through that. Continue. Save one. Load your save one slot on the world map. And head down to the kind of dead area here. You run down to the dead area because the next world map that you encounter, you need to win it. It's easy to win it, but it's better if you do it on the dead ground rather than the grass, because you get less enemies on that screen. So that's why you want to get the encounter in the dead area.
Okay.
Eventually, when I get a random encounter. This is actually the worst encounter you can get as well. That's a shame. You should have plenty of grenades for this fight, so just throw grenades. If you are short, you can use limits. I'm going to use a limit here just to take advantage of the turn priority. Should be dead now. Right. You get your little victory fanfare, and then this will happen. I'll let that sink in for a sec. Now... Yeah. So, I can take a second to explain wrong warps if I've got like a prop that I can use. I've got a Mount Franklin water bottle for... This'll do, I guess. Alright, so we have to talk a little bit about how wrong... If you want to know about how wrong warps work, the game has 3 basic states in which it exists. There's when you're on a field map screen, when you're on a world map screen, and when you're in a battle, basically. Now, when you change from one type to another, specifically when you change from either the world map to a battle or from a field map screen to a battle, the game needs to save your position as to whether or not it's on field map screen or world map. Now, normally what happens is when the game enters a battle, it takes note of what screen you're on, and your exact position on that screen, or if you're on the world map, your coordinates on the world map. Now, it does that. It puts it into this bottle, because this is the closest prop that I had, and puts it in there, puts it off to the side. You go through the battle. Now, one of 2 things can basically happen when you go through that battle. Either you lose and you game over, or you win and the game has to pull this bottle back, take out the address, and put you back in the same spot. The other thing that can happen is that you game over. Now, in which case, the game detects that you game overed, and it throws the bottle away. And it's gone. It forgets that you're in that position, and then when you reload a save, there's nothing in the bottle to call. There's no memory there's no address and position that's actually saved. However, there is an exception to this rule. When you're in the flashback, the PC version was never coded in a way to handle getting game over in the flashback. Because how could you? Sephiroth is with you, he's in God mode, he can't die. But we've found a skip where you can actually create a game over scenario that triggers. So when you're in the flashback scene, your memory address, your position on the field map screen here is saved and put in the bottle, but the game doesn't throw the bottle away. So when you reload a save on the world map, that bottle is still there, the game looks for the bottle, and it pulls it out, and it warps you to the wrong position. That's how the wrong warp basically works.
That's so clever.
Yeah. That is a short summary of it. It gets more complicated. I'm not going to get into too much detail with the second warp, because the second warp makes even less sense. But once you've done that, run down and head to the world map. And you'll be on the world map here. And once you're in this position, actually, you should go into order, put everyone in the front row. Yoo-hoo, and just run around in circles. And you'll get an encounter. And this is actually the worst encounter you get, but we're gonna die again.
So... that's why you're grenading yourself, chunk yourself out.
Yep, you just grenade yourself to die as fast as possible. So we game over it again. Now this game, the game is completely broken at this point, because the game is also not coded to handle world map encounters when you're in the flashback scene, because that's not supposed to be possible either. So now, once we've done that, we need to get a very specific encounter. And this is going to be the biggest point of RNG when you start learning this run. You need to load, once you've game over, load the slot 1 save again. Now this time, you need to get a specific encounter that's on the grass area. And the exact formation is 2 Neurosephiroths and 1 Formula, which I'll show you what they look like. Hopefully, I'm lucky and I get them nice and fast, but I don't have a manipulation for this time point, so I can't actually guarantee that I get it. That's not it.
That's why we're just encounter farming to get that specific encounter. Do you know what the odds are for it?
I think it's 20%. Roughly.
Okay.
I think there's 5 different formations. So yeah, it's a bit rough when you start learning, because there is a way to manipulate it, but I think this is it. Yeah, this is the one. This is the encounter that you need. The purple bird and 2 little lizard things. Now, yeah. Unfortunately, like, in order to manipulate it, there isn't like a way where we can just like predict all of the in-game times where we get the encounter that we need, because what random encounter you get on the world map is determined by 2 things. It's one by your move. Actually, it's determined by a lot of things, but it's determined by mostly by your movement and the in-game time in which the world map is first loaded, which is basically the RNGC, which determines your thing. And then you use predetermined movement, and then you can guarantee encounter. The problem is that we have to test every in-game time individually, and that's a very tedious process. So when you're starting out, you're probably not going to get to a point where you can run, but when you start getting a lot more competent, I think the latest that we have is 1 hour 47 minute in-game time. If you can make the world map save at that point or earlier, then you can guarantee that you will get that encounter first time. But at least to start off with, unfortunately, it'll be subject to RNG, and there's not much we can really do about it. Unless you want to help me with testing. If you want to increase the number of IGT values, send me a message on Discord. I'm happy to show you through the process on how we actually test them. But yeah, once you get that encounter, run away from it, and then get another encounter in the grey area.
Okay.
And win that encounter, and something really weird is going to happen. Oh, this fight again, damn it.
I suspect, looking at your nose, this is about to become very broken.
Yep.
And I'm excited. Perfect turn.
Okay. So if you've done everything right, you will end up in purgatory.
That doesn't sound like a desired result, but, you know, we'll take it.
Well, anything's possible in purgatory. Okay, so this is the master dev room. This is the room that so dev rooms are basically just rooms where the devs use them to just fast travel to everything in the game. And this is the master dev room, which leads to every other dev room in the game. So when you start learning this run, if you want to have some fun with the dev rooms and see what's around, it's actually really easy to do because you can talk to Yuffie, select menu on, and you can save here.
Oh.
It won't come up as dev room in the description, but so you'll have to remember which save point you've used. But if you do this method, it'll always be Junin area. So yeah, you can save in the dev room. There's nothing stopping you. You just have to do the menu on and talk to Yuffie. Now, speed route. To do the speed run, for the speed run, you'll spawn in roughly this position here. Run straight down, and this will take you to this dev room, which is kind of creepy because you know you've got three. Is it three? Yeah, 3 Yuffies, 3 clouds, 2 Aeriths, 2. I think that's Vincent. 3 cowboy Tifas. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So once you're in this position, run straight down to the bottom cowboy Tifa. Okay, so this part's important. You need to hold R1 at a particular point, but do not hold it when you talk to Tifa. Just talk to Tifa normally. Lasdan pops up. Close the Lasdan text box. LAS 4-0. Hold R1. Select circle. Continue to hold R1 until you hear the wind. So I can hear the wind in case you guys can't. Look familiar?
Wait.
Yeah, this rat has come a long way.
You just have Biggs or Kate Sith.
Oh no, Biggs isn't it? But yeah, Kate Sith. Yeah, Kate Sith's here. Which is kind of weird because we never actually created this object. One more thing about this run, and this is something that even runners might not know about this this particular route. Now, this is obviously a very famous scene at the end of the game, where you basically storyline-wise, you omni-slash Sephiroth into oblivion. However, there is a line in the game's code after you beat Safer Sephiroth that sets Cloud's limit break to level 4. And so you have access to omni-slash and the limit bar fills up automatically. We skipped that line in the code. So, if you want to do the faster strat, don't use the limit, just sit there and wait, and Sephiroth will eventually attack, and then Cloud will counter-attack, and the game is finished. Or you can do this, and time will be called very shortly. It's when Cloud lands his hit on Sephiroth, which is when his final time.
Okay.
Braver Slag. Time.
All right.
And that is the whole run.
That was insane.
Yeah, that last 20 minutes is pretty hilarious. You just fly out of your body like Cloud sometimes.
Wow. That was pretty pog.
Yeah.
For the main run, but then that last 20 minutes was insane.
Yeah, so this is the second fastest category for Final Fantasy VII. The fastest is New Game Plus, which is just absolutely meme-tastic. It's just hilarious. Because there's a bunch of glitches that exist when you have pre-prepared saves that you can use. And that involves mostly smuggling materia across save files, which is actually possible.
Chad asks, I believe we answered this earlier, but Chad asks how much time saved is any percent from a normal speedrun?
5 hours, give or take. So, comparison, I've got world records in both any percent and the no warp categories. My any percent time is 1 hour 52 minutes. My no warp time is 6 hours 58 minutes. So yeah, it's a bit over 5 hours.
Ow. So do you have any plugs or things you want to talk about that you're doing, or people you want to shout out?
Plugs. Occasionally I run this game, so you can follow me if you so choose. Other people that run this game, RJ the Destroyer, he found the current warp method, so definitely give him a look up. He's on Twitch as well. Other than that, I've got notes which we posted in Discord. They're also available on the speedrun.com page for Final Fantasy VII if you want to learn this category. This VOD I'll put this VOD up on speedrun.com as well, and you can also subscribe to Thunderthon channel, of course, if you want to get it as soon as it comes out. Other than that, I think I'm good.
So thank you for joining us for this Glitchapalooza.
Yeah.
I describe this as ton of fun. Two things worth mentioning is Thunderthon will be coming back to you with several shows in the coming months, so be sure to check out the announcements page and our Twitter for updates on all of that good stuff. We have a lot of really cool stuff planned. And Diesel, thanks for the shenanigans.
Yeah, no worries. My pleasure.
Alright, lovely. Well, that's going to be it for us today, but look forward to more announcements. We're in the future going to talk about a lot of future shows and all sorts of cool stuff when we can doing that. So we look forward to seeing you all there, and thanks for watching. I believe we should get a raid going, is that right?
That sounds good.
Is that what I'm hearing? Alright, get a raid.
I'll close this off.
Yep.
There we go. Alright, I'll join the raid.
See Chad, is there anyone in particular you wanted to show some love tonight? Tiffany Lockhart? Sounds like a plan. Let's go just let Tiffany Lockhart. She's amazing. Chad, go ahead and toss the raid